Ladies and gentlemen, you're in for a real treat this afternoon on Sportswire Radio. We're almost doing a matinee, but we're doing a matinee for good reasons. Because you see our gentleman here alongside my co-analyst and co-host for a lot of these segments, the brute force Brad Weiss, because he's become one of our buddies here. And I've got a soft spot for him because we had him on a few months ago, right around the time he had committed to Misericordia College for the Cougars and is getting his last words here, almost his final goodbyes before he goes to Pennsylvania. And he has had a decorated career over at Clark High School, where he was a all-county player 3 times, Newsday top 100, 1,000-plus point scorer, playoffs, you name it. He has done it all. He's even done some coaching this past summer for our Level Up basketball program. Obviously, Coach Winter, we had a tremendous honor to be able to speak with him not too long ago. And Coach Dempsey, a whole list of people there. Many friends of Sportswire Radio are part of that program. And our guest, our young special man, has been a part of that. But he needs no further introduction. But because this might be his most important introduction, I'm going to say it on the record, probably going to be the best introduction he is ever going to get, even in those 4 years in Misericordia University. We go right to it. So with that, wait for it. Further ado here on the Sports Report, number one Level Sports Show, 3-time all-county player, 2-time Newsday top 100 from Clark High School, Level Up basketball, and now from the Misericordia Cougars, James DeSimone. You know, I butchered the Misericordia name. You heard it. It was kind of funny. And I told you that was going to be the toughest thing I'm ever going to do ever on Sportswire.
All I'm going to say, though, Tom, is I don't know if Mr. Cordy is going to give you an introduction like that.
No one ever will give me an introduction as good as Tom Bryce does. Thank you, Tom.
I appreciate that. Again, sans the obviously omission of Misericordia College. But, James, it's good to be with you once again. I know I've kind of seen you in a number of these shows on Sportswire. I've seen some pictures. We've played tag. We missed each other at Liberty games. But I'll get to the brute force in a second. I know he's kind of pinch hitting right now because his voice is kind of suspect. So we'll certainly try to carry most of the load here on Sportswire, which I'm used to doing anyway. But first of all, the most important question, how are you feeling right now? You're about, let's say 60 or so hours away from leaving here on Long Island. And how are the nerves and how are you feeling right now, my friend?
I'm super excited. A little nervous, too. I think those kind of go together in a way. I'm going into a completely new, universe, if you think about it that way. I've never really been away from my family for this long. So I only come back for Thanksgiving, which is in 2 months. I'm meeting everyone I meet is going to be I never met before, brand new, going into a really good basketball program, which I'm really excited for.
Absolutely.
I'm really looking forward to it. Definitely nervous, but soon enough, I'll be ready to go.
So do you have the stomach knots already, the butterflies they would see? Because I remember, as a kid, you always get ready for, the first day of school, and you'd start thinking about it, a week, 2 weeks out. You say, I don't know if I want to be there. And usually for me, it was probably for good reasons because the school probably didn't want me there to begin with. And I would probably know already, okay, who am I going to be with that doesn't like me going into a new school year? But, I mean, how are you dealing with that? I'm sure you're having butterflies because this is a huge life transition. So kind of talk about that.
Oh, definitely. It's like going into a big game. I'm super nervous. Definitely the stomach is curling a little bit because I have no idea what to expect. I'm going in as a freshman versus these. Some players are from the COVID year, so they're 23 years old, 22.
I was going to say, because of the waiver, you still have players that have the extra eligibility. So they're in their 5th year, but their 4th year playing. So that kind of adds a whole new element. They're almost like adults. I mean, they're at Brad's level. In fact, they could have actually been contemporaries of Brad now. Brad's the old man now these days.
I am. But certainly, to talk quickly about what he's talking about, I mean, it is a crazy transition because you're going from being the oldest as a senior in high school to being the youngest and playing guys who were 5 or 6 years older than you and really mature and got bigger muscles, and some people even have families at this point. I mean,
that's crazy, Brad, that they have families. I mean, I would hope they wouldn't, but the fact that they would have families and they're in college.
I had some teammates that already had, some families already, and some sort of family building, like, wives and even a kid once. So it was crazy. So
I'm not even at that level. I mean, I'm older than you, Brad, and I still haven't got there. I'm almost still living in a Barbie world.
This is college, and this is what he's saying. He's not really, he knows sort of what to expect, but he hasn't been in the building yet, and that's a totally different story.
I have comments, and I'm going to get to comments in a second, and obviously I have to ask you, James, kind of the more obvious one, talk about your nerves for a second, but how's your parents feeling with this?
They supported me if I wanted to stay home or go away. So my brother goes to FAU, so he's been away. He actually moved. He lives there now, so it's.
I remember we spoke about that before. Sure.
Yeah, it's going to be an empty nest at the house.
Well, they might be happy about that then. Some parents were like, in my case, like I never left, and it was to the point where I actually like outran everybody else. And I'm sure that my parents, when they had the opportunity, would have loved to have had an empty nest. So your parents might feel good about that. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely. From what they tell me, they're gonna miss me. I definitely seen my mom cry a few times, which is tough. Give her a few hugs, but yes, we're leaving Saturday morning, and then after that, my whole world is just gonna be flipped around.
What's the commute like? What's the travel time up to Pennsylvania from where you are?
It really depends when you leave. It's Dallas, Pennsylvania, so it's
okay.
Funny, yeah. It's about 3 hours 30 minutes.
Wow. Okay. I have no idea where Dallas, Pennsylvania is, admittedly, so I would have to beg
it's like
to.
15 minutes from Scranton.
Okay, I kind of know Scranton.
You know where that is?
Yeah, I kind of know Scranton a little bit. I know a little bit of a general idea. I mean, Brad, I have to ask you a question, and I will get to some comments here. I mean, would you have liked to have been in James' shoes at one point and said, maybe could I have had that opportunity? You had a different journey, obviously, Nassau Community College, and obviously at St. Joe's. Happy you went to St. Joe's, by the way. But would you have ever maybe wanted to be in James' shoes in that way?
I've thought about that because, obviously I was different in that he was talking about, well, it could have went either way. It could have stayed home. It could have went away. I was strong stance of staying home from the start because of what he just said. My parents didn't want me gone, and I didn't want to be gone. So quite frankly.
Well, you and your parents, like, I have to say, you guys are like almost like brother, sister, almost like you guys are like super close.
I mean, listen.
I have to admit, like some of my friends who are come on the show and they watch us, like Steve Saperstein, for example, always remarks, like sees like on Facebook, you and your dad are like peas in a pod almost. It's amazing the relationship that your folks have. I don't know if I quite had that. I didn't have it good or bad, but you and like your father your mother are like this almost.
Yeah, and he knows that from being on the sideline with my dad at over the 3 level up game in the spring. He's committed. And the one thing that, I've loved about my career has been, he's been at every game. He wants to be at every game. So for me, it was obviously more or less I wanted to stay home, but also I wanted him to be able to see every one of my games. He wanted to be at every single one of my games. So I made that decision. But with that being said, even though I decided not to travel, and, I'm not really necessarily looking back and saying, I really didn't want to travel, I still like to be home. But the feeling you were talking about, Tom, where we were talking about our stomachs kind of crumbling and everything like that when I went to St. Joe's, it was the same feeling because I was worried about, how the college life would change, being not in Nassau County but in Suffolk, having to take that commute every day to St. Joe's, having to go and prove myself.
Yeah, because Patchogue is kind of far from where you are. Patchogue is one town over.
Listen, with somebody who was young in their teens, I mean, I wasn't driving that much, and I had to go from that to driving every day, 30 miles each way. So it was different for me. But for sure, there is a similarity, but at the same time, the same feeling, Tom, when it comes to, having to go to a new place, new people you don't know, and having to adjust is the same thing that happened for me. And certainly for James, it's happening the same way, just a different travel experience and obviously an experience that's different when it comes to having to live with people and not having those parents around you. So, I have a little bit of the similarity, but at the same time, that feeling that we were talking about, Tom, I can remember it like it was yesterday, where I was walking into St. Joe's for the first time, and I'm like, oh, I got to prove to these guys that I'm going to be on the team. Oh, I got to get to know these guys. I got to get to all those different things. And for me, just like James,
I think you're still proving and saying, even though you have the poster, I think you're still proving in SJC that you belonged in that school.
a little bit, but at the same time, that poster. The good thing you brought it up, Tom.
Yes, I'm going to be bringing it up for the rest of my life, Brad. It even came up in Coach G's segment.
But that poster still has a good significance. But certainly the same nerves were there for me, and that's part of the college transition, which is what we're talking about today.
No question. I want to get to people because people want to talk to you, James, and I think it's a good time to do that. I want to say hello to somebody who I thought would be here right now, Mr. Jason Getz. He goes, "Attaboy, Deso." I mean, where is Jason Getz? I thought he would have been in your house right now, Brad. I thought he would have been watching, maybe from like another room or something. I was kind of wondering.
Well, I will say before I let James go is that Jason actually talked about coming back on the Sportswire radio.
Well, let's bring him on Sportswire radio. You better do it now. Better do it in the next few weeks.
I told him, no, listen, he's a guy who, wants to talk more about the mainstream sports. I'm like, we're talking football, Jason. And Jason's like, I haven't watched a football game in a while. So he's got to get it on his stuff. He's got to get ready.
Well, look, I would definitely bring him back whatever he wants. I mean, obviously, if he wants to come back on, I'll bring him on. In fact, I'd probably want him on compared to some of the other analysts we have on Sportswire that just go on and on and on and on and on. But that's a different discussion for a different time. But I got a good question before I come back to Mr. Getz from somebody you know very well, and I want to introduce him, obviously, to Sia Rahman, and I want to say hello to him and thank you for coming out here and watching. What's the biggest adjustment that you've made this summer? That's a great question, by the way.
That's a fantastic question.
Somebody stole my notes because I was going to ask you that. So, what is your biggest adjustment?
Definitely putting on weight while maintaining like quickness in a way. I've been working on my catch and shoot more because I think in college, especially for my freshman year, maybe even sophomore year, I'm going to be more catch and shoot rather than being ball dominant with the ball in my hands. Definitely being able to guard bigger guys and always guarding. I always want to guard the better players, so coaches can see me do that. What else? Getting stronger, definitely, so I could guard more positions. Maybe like the small forward, power forward, maybe in the center. Being 5'9", it's definitely tough guarding the big guys like Brad. We actually been working on that. Me and Brad been training a lot.
You're a lot quicker than Brad, so it's all a matter of just taking the ball from him.
I wish it was that easy. When you're guarding, right now I'm probably around like 160 pounds, guarding a guy like Brad who's way.
I've seen him in person. Trust me, I've seen him in person. In fact, some of the wrestlers try to pick on him, but you said something interesting. No, we love Brad, but you said something interesting and about packing on the pounds, but obviously doing it more from the right way. Like, how has that experience been in terms of changing, let's say, your daily habits? Talk about that, because I actually have this come up a lot with a lot of my wrestlers, because there are a lot of wrestlers sometimes have to, certainly keep a muscle mass, or maybe kind of, lose or gain pounds based on kind of the type of things that they do. But from your vantage, but maybe talk about how that's changed kind of like your daily habits and such.
Yeah, I definitely try to eat cleaner so I don't put on pounds the wrong way.
Okay.
And I also, when I train, I try to do more cardio because I know Brad tells me this all the time. You have to be in phenomenal shape. He says you can get minutes that way. The way I train, I do a lot of plyometrics, so I'm jumping a lot, I'm running a lot, like lateral, vertical, all different types. And daily habits really haven't changed too much. Just, I definitely don't go out and eat like quote unquote garbage food as much as I used to. Now.
So you wouldn't be doing what, let's say, Gordon Scheuer and Ryan McNeely have been doing, and kind of comparing Chick-fil-A and Chipotle.
Oh, I love those places, but I definitely don't try to eat there every day or every cup. I try to stay away from them.
Okay, fair enough. I have some more comments here. Let me try to get to them. I want to say hello to Tessir and also Alex Martellecci. Alex, where have you been? But James, what's one goal that you want to achieve next year? That's a great question.
Wow, that's a great question.
I think Tessir might have a potential in sports. Yeah. Maybe we can get him to be one of.
So, by the way, before we
get to who Tessir is first.
Yeah, you got to get to who he is. Tell
me. Tom. Oh, I'm not sure if Tom knew or not. So Tessir has been me and Tessir grew up together. So he moved from Brooklyn to my hometown, which is East Meadow. He moved there when he was in 3rd grade, and then so we went to elementary school together and middle school together. But then in high school, he went to Bishop Loughlin, which is in Brooklyn.
Yes, I know Bishop Loughlin. Bishop Loughlin is, I'm trying to think, it's almost like in downtown Brooklyn. So I know Bishop Loughlin very well.
Yep. And then, But for more of the backstory, me and Tyseer have been growing up. So we grew up together playing at the park almost every day.
Okay.
This park called Hearth, which he knows. I think that me and Brad went there once. It's just a park like surrounded by a neighborhood, and we go there most time like 11 o'clock. We used to stay there the whole day sometimes. Everyone come in. We 1v1 all the time. We shoot around all the time. And we played CYO together. We played some travel together. But most importantly, he's one of my best friends that I will 100% stay in touch with for the rest of my life.
Good.
We've been through a lot together.
And
he's very talented. He's going to Buffalo State.
Oh, wow. Buffalo State. Sure, know Buffalo State very well. Wow.
Yes,
okay.
yes. Tyseer's a phenomenal shooter. I will say he's a better shooter than me. We play very similar. We both handle the ball. We both shoot the ball very well. I think he plays more perimeter oriented than I do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm a little more bigger when it comes to weight than he is. But he at Buffalo State will do amazing just shooting the rock. He shoots the lights off the ball. He shoots phenomenal.
Brad, do you know Tyseer? Do you want to add anything that maybe the audience?
So he's definitely a talented kid and really, really good one. That's why you're seeing.
Did we try to recruit him for SJLI? Did you try to maybe let obviously?
I don't know if he was into like James was.
He was the same with me. He wanted to go away. We talked about going to the same school at one point. We wish we could do that, but unfortunately, we both play very similar.
Yeah,
fair enough. Yeah, but at the same time, they have the same goals and the same mindset. And I think that's why you're seeing a question like this, because they have that mindset and those goals already that they want to achieve. And those are two good basketball players going to two different colleges. But again, for the common goal of playing at that level and being successful. So Tyseer's a great player. He's a great kid. Obviously, going to Bishop Laughlin is no joke.
I know Bishop Laughlin very well. I grew up in Brooklyn, so I know it very well.
Able to play to go there. And
because if you don't, you're not going to be able to afford it either. Because I can tell you, it's a very expensive, high school. Because I remember growing up.
Yeah, he was lucky enough to get a scholarship there. Tyseer was very talented. He was on JV as an 8th grader when I was still on the middle school team actually. So Tyseer, and he did very well. I think he averaged around like 15 points on JV.
Wow.
Yeah, me and him were always constantly pushing each other, and that's part of my success. For high school, I blame Tyseer because we're always constantly pushing each other and, looking for the next goal.
And I would love to know where Tyseer grew up in Brooklyn as well, because I probably would know the neighborhood. But obviously, he also says, of course, Day One supporters. And I want to.
Yeah, Alex. That's Alex. He's also one of my.
I have an Alex question next. I do. Yeah, I do. Alec also wants to know if he and Tyseer could be on the show. Yeah, why not? I mean. Why not at this point? I mean,
what's up, Alex? Alex is playing volleyball at King's College. He's leaving tomorrow.
Oh, I know. We know Kings.
King's College. Yeah, we same conference as Misericordia. We'll be playing them.
Guys, I noticed that in the schedule. Now, is that going to be weird for you, James? That he's going to a rival college? Is that kind of by design? Rival.
That's super funny. Well, when I went there for my visit, my coach mentioned they were the rival. Honestly, no. Alex is one of my best friends. I'll just be happy to see him.
We've mentioned Alex on the show before. You want to say anything about Alex or to Alex? And I kind of think I'm interested in Tyseer and Alex coming on Sportswire. I mean, at this point, we let everybody else come on. Why not? I guess.
Yeah, I mean, listen, these are guys just like James that coming from a small school in Clark. When you talk about Alex and James, and listen, there's not a lot of players that come out of there and play these sports like volleyball and basketball and go to play in college. So clearly they have something that a lot of kids don't have. And Alex, if you've seen him, is a phenomenal athlete.
I think we definitely mentioned Alex on Sportswire in the past.
He's a phenomenal athlete. His jumping ability is great, which makes him a great volleyball player. And another guy with a good mindset. I mean, just has a good mindset, good love for the game, really dedicated. And again, these are guys who, again, grew up in the same grade, pushed each other, and this is why they've achieved the goals that they've gotten to now. With all being able to play in college, which, again, we talk about all the time here, Tom, especially covering Division III athletics. That is a major accomplishment.
Oh, no question. It is not easy. The competition in Division III college athletics, especially on Long Island, we speak about it all the time. I mean, Long Island basketball at a Division III level is very competitive. It's very, at the high school level, it's very, very competitive. And I want to get to some more comments because Taysir's got some great questions. I mean, finally somebody on Sportswire. Usually I do these shows and it's like, somebody says this, somebody says that, and it's kind of like tongue in cheek, or we have the wrestlers fighting each other. But in this case, we got some informational questions, and I like that from Taysir. And, Brad, what's the one thing you focused on in working with James?
So we worked on a lot of different things. It's tough to single out one, but it goes from basketball to not even basketball. One of the first things that I got with James on is mindset. Is just talking about, how do you have to focus in on what you need to do, but also how you make the team better. Because again, James is a very talented individual basketball.
Oh, we know that. We've covered his accomplishments. We know, 3-time All-County, 2-time Newsday Top 100.
Those things speak for itself. But what type of team leader is he going to be? What type of influence is he going to be, not only on the Clark kids that he played with, but the ones coming up and want to be like him? Because a lot of them look to him as an example, as somebody that they want to become. So that was something that we talked about. One thing I really focused on, and I pushed him from day one, was defense. I told him that if he wanted to
speak a lot about that on the show, Brad. When we do the segments in basketball, we speak a lot about
that. Is that part of his body transformation was really because he wanted to become a better defender and play multiple positions. And that's something that at the college level, Tom, when you're talking about the way we play a lot of switching on screens, a lot of ball movement, a lot of more screening and cutting. So those are things that James is going to have to do. He's going to have to guard different positions. He's going to have to switch onto bigs and go on smalls at times. So for him, just the defensive mindset, just wanting to play defense more, being more particular in his movements on defense. It's something that we worked on. And then, of course, we supplemented it with finishing at the basket. And when it comes to finishing, getting around the rim, making creative
because you may not get those opportunities as much as you did in Clark. So you have to make those moments count.
And the last thing, too, is James has an ability to shoot at a very high level. And teams at a college level, Tom, when it comes to scouting, are going to know it. They're going to be like, all right, well, we got to get out to the shooter. We got to get out and get tested. What are you going to do about it? Well, you got to attack the rim. You got to be a threat to do both. And I think that's something that we worked on, too. So I know you asked me for one thing, Taysir, but we did multiple.
Taysir's got a bunch of them. I'm just going to go and just rattle them off. And I do want to say from Alex before I do that, Brad's going to be a top 3 coach in Nassau County over the next 3 years. Mark my words.
I tell him that too, Tom.
At this point, Brad, you're not going to have much more time other than coaching, which probably might be okay because I think as Sportswire, I think, is going different ways. I mean, obviously, we'll always do our basketball segment, so I think you're going to be so busy, Brad. You're going to be like Kelly at this point, where Kelly's like, you can't even get a hold of Kelly. Kelly, it's like, yeah, Kelly's like every few months, yeah, I want to come on the show, but it's like, okay, well, what's your availability? And between my availability and her availability, our lack of availabilities, it's very difficult. So Brad's going to be in that crowd very soon. But
I appreciate that, by the way, Alex. It means a lot.
Absolutely. That's what I said. We love Alex, and maybe we will like to make Alex on Sportswire here. But, Brad, describe the progress you've seen from James since the time you started to now.
It's actually funny, even though the glare is currently cutting it out. This is the picture. This is the picture from the first time that we actually met each other and started working out together. And, you can't really see it, but James is.
I saw it about 5 minutes ago. Yeah, it was about 5 minutes.
Yeah, we'll work on the lighting here. But listen.
You got to improve the lights, bro. Even I got new lighting.
I know. But listen, you know what? We can only afford so much. But listen.
That's true.
James has changed completely. His body type, as we've talked about, has changed. His mentality and his wanting to do this has changed. So the progress that I've seen, when it comes to his shooting, like he's a good shooter. I've seen progress there, but it's not as big as some of the progress when it comes to some of the little things, like some of the little basic details that we've talked about. When it comes to like knowing how to attack a screen, making plays downhill, making the smart decision and the smart balanced decision. That's something that we've talked about, being on balance more, being creative, but also under control. Those things are things I've seen a lot of improvement on. And obviously I got to get back to it. This is one thing I challenged him on doing. Be a better defender. We
spoke about that the first time because remember what we spoke about with you, James, last time was that minutes are not going to come so easy. So these are the 100%. Moments in practices and learning your defense, doing things you don't want to do because that's going to keep you in that rotation.
And those are the things that, I've told him from being a college player. Things like playing better defense, being louder, taking a charge in practice. Those are things that, are difference makers. And, I even said things, and listen, we have that relationship where we can mess with each other. I would call him a traffic cone on defense. I'm like, you got to be better than that. And, that's not to actually tell him he can't play defense, but to push him to be better. And I think that that's something that when you talk about progress, I've seen progress from that mentality of playing better defense and also being under control more and making better decisions.
I even feel.
I think that, honestly, not even just towards basketball. I'm talking towards life. Like, Brad has helped me in so many different ways, like being more organized, planning out your day, time management. These are things that I've always, really struggled with, and that's something that Brad has really, helped me get better.
I was even going to say from the first time I had you on to now, and it's been maybe 3.5 months, you really have matured. I mean, you've matured just hearing you speak, your approach. I mean, I was kind of thinking you'd be joking around, jovial. You're very really professional. I mean, a lot more professional than me these days, because at this point, I'm the last thing from professional. But I mean, you really in all seriousness, for a young man, you've matured. I gotta be honest with you, you're light years ahead of when I was going into college. You might even be ahead of Brad. I mean, but I mean,
that's a tough one. But
well, I was trying. I was pushing my luck. I know I was pushing my luck on the first one. But the point is that you really to me. I've known you a while now, but I kind of see an evolution a little bit from. Do you feel in the last few months even that you've kind of matured, getting yourself ready for Misericordia?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like I have a lot of, I don't want to say pressure, but I have a lot of people who are really counting on me to see me succeed, and I really don't want to let them down. I'm doing it for me, but I'm also doing it for so many other people.
Sure.
And I definitely I really want to make the best I can out of this opportunity, because I talked to so many people, so many coaches through Level Up, through the PAL, who just taught me so much that, you really, if you think about it, you only have how many years of your life to play basketball. And then other than that, being a good person. So I've just learned so much from everyone.
Oh, no question. And, you're around a plethora of talent.
I'm around a lot of really good people who have a lot of good lessons to teach me.
When we had Jesse, I mean, I know Jesse's meant a lot to you, just Coach Winter.
Me and Jesse talk all the time, yeah.
I was going to say, and he's a guy, I mean, you talk about his resume. Guy played Pro Bowl. The guy obviously dominated when he played in college and high school. And, he's meant a lot, obviously. Kelly and Kelly's story, her family name, the list goes on down the line. But let me say hello to somebody from the UK who was tuned in for a few minutes, who's a very good friend of mine. He's a big-time pro wrestler. He's a big-time world champion. He's also done some MMA in the background.
What's up,
the
Big
Cheese Logan. Yes, right? It's the Big Cheese Logan. He's the Big Cheese.
That's the Big Cheese.
He's really big. He's really, and he's actually, by the way, he's doing also kind of a different diet also. He's doing a cleansing diet. And I've been sharing on Instagram and Twitter. Flying over my head, just wanted to tune in to say hi. I have no clue about U.S. sports. He just wanted to say hi. That's all he wanted to do. He'll be with me tomorrow when I have a nemesis of his, Mr. Joe Cole. That's a different time.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll be a different show, different time. I'm sure the basketball coaches and players that might hear this one may not want to hear that genre, but we'll leave that for another time. But, I got a lot of questions from Tice here. I might as well just let Tice here host the show. James, do you have any advice to give to the younger crowd trying to have a future in the sport? That's a good question, actually.
Wow, Tice here is really coming with these great questions.
Wow, did you plan it this way today?
No, I texted Tice here earlier in the morning, but it wasn't about this interview.
Okay. But, I think I might want this guy on in the future. He's prepared. He knows his stuff. Like I said, he can just take over my role as well.
Tice here is very mature for his age. Me and him have so much history together, but any advice going to the younger crowd to help futures in the sport?
Yeah, what would you say to that?
As cliche as it is, I think it's really just about working really hard. And if you have to really devote a lot of time to it. You have to make a lot of sacrifices.
Sure.
As cliche as it is, you really gotta work hard.
Listen, you know what?
Yeah, really
when I speak with a lot of the wrestlers, right? Just leave aside the wrestlers. The time that a lot of these guys and gals put in, just in that to be in their craft, to be at the top of their sport, it's a lot of time. And I can even tell you, doing my political career, I would work for, some of the people I worked for that had won, they would spend, almost 2 years. You couldn't talk to them. It was don't bother me. It's only about the campaign, only about whatever it is. Anything else, I have to knock on doors. I have to raise money. I have to go meet people. So it was I can relate it into that being an athlete, in that you have to put the time in between training, between playing, between practicing, you have to put the mindset. So it's all those things. So I think it's anything in life, anything that you've been successful in. I
100%.
think that's what you're going to be very good at. And more from Tice here. James, what are some things you've learned from Brad throughout the years as a player and as a person?
Like I said before about Brad's taught me much about life is time management, which is something I struggle with a lot. Being organized.
Join the crowd, by the way.
Not being lazy, because sometimes I could when I'm working hard, I'm working really hard. When I'm lazy, I could be lazy sometimes. Definitely that. But he also made me value my rest. Like he's like, hey, you should rest sometimes. If you're really not feeling it, it's okay to rest your body. But as a player, it's all a lot of mental stuff. Definitely.
It's 80% mental. I heard one athlete tell me once. It's 80% mental.
True. Brad's really taught me. He really put everything into perspective. Like in college, he's like, "Hey, you were the man. You were like the man in high school, but in college, everyone is. So what are you gonna do to separate yourself from them?"
Yeah, it's funny. I've heard that before a lot. In that somebody will come to college, and it's very rare that somebody in high school goes to college and they're automatically, even if they have great careers. I mean, maybe Coach Winter might have been an exception where he was just great right off the bat, but there's very few exceptions to that rule. It's almost like you have to kind of learn the system. It's a new environment. It's a new coach, all those things here. And Tyseer, by the way, wants to say that's his last question, but I'm going to tell him he can ask any question he wants. He can give 100 questions because you don't have to be, it doesn't have to be the last question. So anything you want to ask, feel free to do that. By the way, follow James DeSimone on Instagram at James DeSimone_. The Brute Force Brad Weiss at BWeiss20 on Instagram. Also, Coach Brad Weiss on Instagram. And if you're out there on YouTube, give me a sub at Sportswire Radio. We just crossed over 300 subscribers. Have a lot of new subscribers out there. So give me a sub. You might want to like some of our content. Some of it I think is entertaining because we do a lot of wrestling. We do a lot of basketball, especially with college sports starting up. I'm very excited about that. So please go out there and follow us. And he would also like to say, I've been counting on you since the 3rd grade, and you still haven't let me down. That's a really, I believe it, by the way. I believe you're not going to let anybody down, James.
One thing I'll say quickly before he goes on that is that the one thing before I even started working with James that I knew right away was that he had a tremendous work ethic. And something, where it was like, I didn't have to teach him to come to the workouts. I didn't have to teach him to be dedicated and come in the gym ready to go. That was something he did already. He was already getting to the parks, like he said, at a young age and doing it on his own, putting in the work that he learned. So like the drills he would learn, he would put it in and do it himself. He would try to do things himself. And every time as a coach, okay, now he's transitioning to that as well. But as a coach, what do we always say? We're going to show you what to do. You got to go out there and do it. You got to go over and over again. And that's one thing that, I think Tyseer and James did together was that they consistently put in the reps, consistently.
Yeah,
tried to get better.
I feel like in anything, especially in basketball, like this season, and I know in the off season, we spoke a lot about this, Brad, whether it was when Coach G's come on, even we had Coach Facina on other sports, Corey Jakes, obviously Corey, some of you guys might know, the different coaches, Coach Highland, when he was coming on, obviously Brad, somebody that coached against you, they would always talk about how important the summer years were, those off seasons, because you have to go spend all that time out there. Yes, I see. It's very funny. You have to kind of spend that time, June, July, August. Like you have to go wake up at 9 o'clock in the morning when everybody else isn't waking up till noon. Go out there, go find a court that's open and go work on things. If you don't, that could make the difference in the kind of season that you have. So that stuff you clearly get. And I have a good question for you from Tyseer, for you, the Brute Force, Brad Weiss. If Tyseer and James played at Clark, how far would they have gone? That's an honest question. I want to put Brad right on the spot with that.
Me and Tyseer have spoke about this probably every single day when we hang out. How far we have gone. So, Brad, I want to hear your answer to this question.
Well, I was actually asked this question 3 months ago when I was actually at a Clark game.
All right.
And Tyseer was there watching the game as well.
Oh, what a coincidence.
So how far could have they gotten? I'll be honest with you. I think they could have got to the county finals.
Wow.
And I think, obviously Manhasset being the powerhouse that they've been, would have been the team that they would have had to, get over the hump with. And, the one thing that Manhasset has that they would have probably had to do better with was their size and their length. But with that being said, I know he's itching to say it. They actually almost beat Manhasset without Tyseer. So With that being said, I think that they could have been a county championship caliber team. And again, this is a team in Clark that we talked about the last show that hadn't really won a playoff game their entire history as a school.
Yep, the school had like no success really in terms
zero.
of
So to talk about a player like him and Tyseer and like those guys, like that's a really good class that they had and a class that could have done something special. But like I said, size would have been something we would have looked at. Obviously, they had a big injury to their big guy Jason Getz, who we just mentioned and talked to earlier. That was a big loss this year. That would have helped him. But at the same time, Tyseer, talking about him, is just another shooter, another guy who could make things happen.
I think it would have made it a lot easier for me because certain games, especially
that last game, the playoff game, right? That was the game you struggled a little bit, if I'm not mistaken.
A little bit. I think that playoff game was definitely tough. It was a tough matchup for us.
Yep.
Versus Monica, back-to-back years, getting knocked out by them. Once in the first round, once in the second round.
Yep.
Tough matchup for us with the physicality because we're an A5 school, so we didn't verse many big teams who are athletic and can jump out the gym and can hit shots. And you can't really – that wasn't a good matchup for us. And having Tyseer to help me with the workload of bringing up the ball, scoring, and a little pressure off my shoulders, it definitely would have helped in the long run.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll say quickly, Tom, we talk about it all the time, whether it's college sports, high school sports, the Liberty right now, okay, it's depth. Okay, in depth.
Oh, we've been speaking about that. Listen, I've been doing this 5 years. Every time we do a spot in college basketball, especially, what is the one thing that every coach that comes on here, every player that comes on here, it's about depth. You got to have 12 guys in your rotation, and 12 of those guys got to play. Look at the last SJLI teams that we had, right? The last two teams that made the playoffs, right? Those guys. Even guys like a Justin Turner had to play big minutes. Obviously our friend Nick Nemekis, right? I mean, you think about Chris Connors had to be ready. Tom Bell had to be ready. So, so we're good. Definitely. Yeah. Let me get to some more comments here first before I also want to say, first to Mr. Omen Black. Mr. Omen obviously is going to be with us here tomorrow. Well, he's got a couple things to say, and he'll be here tomorrow, definitely on Sportswire Radio, because we'll have a whole list of wrestling covers then. He says, Brute Force, what's up, brother? Is that James, the little snake who has tried dodging me on his show? Obviously, Omen has become Sportswire. He says, what kind of betrayal is this, Tom? And he says, how dare you have Leave It to Beaver on my show? But I'll get over it. Obviously, Omen, that's his way of saying hello. Obviously, Omen wishes you well, and he knows that you're obviously going to college. Yeah, he's 5'11", 385. In fact, he's such a big man that I would even say the Big Cheese Logan would have a fit on his hands with Omen.
Really?
Yeah, the Big Cheese and Omen would be an interesting matchup. Maybe one day that'll happen if there's a will and a way. You never know. That would be certainly a dream matchup. But obviously, Omen, I just watched your last promo this morning, so I might have to ask you about what's going on with the House of Wolves. And he says, no, I don't know what he means. No, I don't on, but you can follow Omen on YouTube. He's got almost 1,500 subscribers now. He's at IMF Wrestling 666. So I do want to make sure people do that. But I have a good one for you, Brad, actually from Tyseer. Brad, can you guard James in your prime?
This is a bad question.
So
I like it, actually. I
love it because this is my chance to shine.
There's no question.
Listen to me. Obviously, can I guard James? Yeah, of course I can. The one thing, listen, everybody wants to talk about his quickness and he's small, but listen, I was able to move. I was able to move.
You better be careful there, James.
He's in my house right now. He's in my house. He's in my studio. But listen, yeah, I can guard him 100%. One thing that I was known for was being able to move my feet as a big man.
I watched you. I covered you. I did see that. Sure.
So yes, with that being said, will I be successful a lot? He's a good player. But at the same time, if you want to reverse that question, the answer is hell no. He can't guard me. Not at all. Not at all. Because
here we go.
The big man, gets in the paint and he has no chance. So listen. So with that being said, and he asked prime for prime, so he's being specific. So he wants me to tell when I was playing college, when I was doing well at SJCLI.
I would say, Brad, you from 20. let's say Brad from
It wasn't.
2014 to
That's a good question.
2019-ish,
Yeah,
and
no, yeah.
James now. That would be your prime. I would say your
Right.
prime as a
So with that
player
being
was
said,
14 to 19.
listen, James got a little bit of a way to kind of prove himself, and I will say
I got
that
some time, I think.
as I continue to coach and he continues to play, the scale's going to go more to his side because I'm getting older. But
Right.
with that being said, before this and right now, he's still the small guy and still the one, okay, that I am going to have the favoritism in, and I can guard him. Yes, Tyson, I can.
The question I have is how well have me like would me and Brad do if we are on the same team in a pick and roll situation? That's what I think.
He's trying to deflect the question. He's trying to deflect the question.
I have an answer to Brad. I have the answer to that question that I think, but I'll save it to myself.
Okay, all right, fair enough. And Omen would like to say that you don't need luck, James, because you're the Omen Black of your sport. So basically, he's saying,
Thank you,
like,
Omen.
that's nice words from Omen. So, and like I said, Omen's a very big man, and I'm looking forward to seeing Omen because I haven't seen Omen on Sportswire in a while, and I get a chance to see him tomorrow and then Friday with another one of his favorites, Craven Rage, who I know Omen's going to have a lot to say for. But I have a good one from Tyseer that I'd like to get to here, and I know this, but describe the relationship that I see between James and Brad. I'll tell you what I see. I see almost like big brother, little brother. I see that you guys have become, over the past maybe year plus, attached at the hip. I always see on Instagram, Brad someplace, James is right behind him, whether it's at a Liberty game, whether it's at a Level Up, whether it's just outside, even on the Sportswire shows in the past. Jason and James would come over. So I would see, in a way, kind of like a big brother, little brother relationship that, maybe Brad never had a little brother and maybe James is that person, or maybe James has never had somebody like Brad. And also there's a lot of similarities because of the game of basketball, also their love of sports, their, proximity of where they live. And, sometimes those things kind of work out where you have those relationships. And I think Brad is also still, young enough that he's kind of a peer of James. I mean, like, Coach Dempsey's great. I love Kelly, but Kelly's not really a peer of yours. Kelly's like around my age. So it's like, yes, we're like, we can relate to each other, but she's not really a peer. So I think maybe that's what I see. Do you guys agree on kind of my analysis of that?
First of all, Tyson, another great question. But Brad is someone who I will always call my brother. Like, we're so close. I call his dad. I call Mr. Wee's pops. I call his mom. I call his mom. Like, we're so close like that. But
wow, okay, you got a real relationship. But I have to say, growing up, I didn't have any of that because, again, I grew up in Brooklyn. I know Tyseer left. Good for him. But for me, growing up, there was none of that. It was more like, don't beat the hell out of me, basically, kind of deal. That was just. But I have to blame for some of that. But I appreciate you're good.
Like, going back to even like the history of me and Brad, like from camp, from PAL camp, when I was maybe how old was I? I think third grade.
You're a little older, probably
maybe
fourth or fifth.
Okay. Fourth or fifth grade. Him being one of the counselors at the camp, and me talking a lot of nonsense to him.
Well, Brad was in Plainview by then. You were what, a junior in high school by
I
then?
was in the older years of high school, yeah.
And this is when he was. He actually. So, Brad tells the story better than I do, but I had a coach, Jordan Adaspi, and we would verse Brad, and we lost. But then 2 years after that, I was with Brad and we won. And then me and Brad ended up connecting over like social media. He saw something that someone posted about me. Texted me that we started working at the PAL center together. Like, Brad has like blessed me with hundreds of opportunities, and obviously we became super close from everything, from training.
I've seen it a lot, just in, like I said, the last year and a half. But just seeing you guys, it's like
you said, it's like attached at the hip. I feel like I'm always end up with Brad.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's definitely right with that. And, to go to his point from before, the one thing that I always took from my dad when he was coaching me was having relationships with different people, whether it's my teammates, other people's players and stuff like that. He was always really good with, like, if you treat us the right way, then I'm going to treat you.
1,000%. I 1,000% agree with that.
I'm one of those people, too, that everybody's like, oh, well, James is whatever years younger than you. That means you can't relate to him. I don't believe that one bit. I think that, me and him, there was something right away where when I was coaching him, I saw how much he cared about basketball. And it kind of reminded me of how much I cared about basketball and how much I wanted to get better and how driven I was. And that was from camp when he was a little kid. And then, obviously he grew up. I played college basketball. We didn't really connect. But then, to his point, I started seeing him in summer league again. I'm like, oh, is that the kid James I remember who was working hard and always listened to me and was having fun? And, I'm like, oh, and then, one day I can remember it just like yesterday where, I saw him come in and I'm just like, I'm starting to learn how to train. I'm just starting to learn how to, be a coach. And I'm like, this is a kid I think that would be fun to coach and fun to work with. So I reached out to him, and the fun part of this story is that he believed in me. I was a young coach. I was a guy just learning, to coach and learning to.
But you're very mature, though, for your age. Listen, obviously, look, your father was an athlete. Your father was a really successful athlete. But you have a certain gene. Like, there are certain people that are almost born with a certain mentality that you can't teach, you can't coach. You have that, Brad. You have the work ethic. You're a guy that's really goal-driven. You're focused. There's a lot of people that don't have that. And I think that James saw that, and that's why I think he gravitated towards you. And I think that's why James is on the path that he is.
Just to quickly finish that thought, Tom, before I go, again, I took I wouldn't say a risk, but I took all right, well, I'm going to be training a kid.
Well, Brad, I think you take a risk every week speaking with me on Sportswire because you're speaking with me.
I guess that's true. I guess that's true. But I took a chance. I'm like, listen. And at first, I'm like, I don't know if a kid that's, this good really wants to train with me. Like, I'm like, am I really good enough for him? But I'm like, you know what? Let me see what happens. And, he came down one time. He enjoyed the workout. And then, the rest is history. And then, like you said, Tom, it's evolutionized into something I never thought it would, to the point where, he wanted to help me coach. He wanted to be like me. And it's funny now that I'm directing the camp, and now James is in my shoes, where he's coaching and he's mentoring a lot of these kids that are coming up. And eventually, maybe one of those kids is going to be like me, where James is going to have a kid like me, right? And, kind of go the opposite direction now. But, at the same time, it just became something special. I think, he wanted to coach. He was motivated to learn. He was motivated to do things. And at the same time, one thing, again, another lesson that I learned from my dad and other people is when people really want to do something, give them opportunities and see what happens. And I think that James wanted the opportunities. He wanted the chance. That's when I started taking him to games, started to really get to know him. And now we have that little fun relationship where it is a brotherhood. It really is.
Yeah, I tell you what. I mean, I know, Brad, you were so close with Fitzy, but, like, I see you and James really more like I see more of the closeness. I mean, I just see James in a lot of ways. He gravitates. I realize that Fitzy was a peer of yours, and you can't teach that. But I don't know. I just see something with James, with you, where it makes more sense. I love Fitz. He's great. I would never not say he's not. But I don't see the same type of connection. And again, I don't know as well, but I know James a little better.
I mean, I would say to that, and I think you're right. I would say to that. Obviously, me and Brendan split paths. He went to Cortland. I was at St. Joe's. We really.
But even the personalities, like Brendan's got a certain, he's got a certain personality, and yes, he had a different journey. He had kind of a career where he was a late bloomer, but when he bloomed, he was like an amazing basketball player in college. You had a different path. You went to community college first. You struggled through injuries. Your teams didn't have success. He had kind of like a really different career. But I don't know. I just see you and James, to me, far more closer than you would have been with Brendan. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, it's really like a brotherhood, like you said.
I didn't see that with you and Brendan. I just didn't.
Yeah, because me and Brad can really relate on certain things. Definitely, especially now since I'm going to college and he's been through it already.
Right.
And he just gives me a ton of advice in that sense.
Yeah.
Like I think, like, for example, like, okay, me and Anthony Finkel, we're great. like, but to me, it's like me and him is like you and Fitzy, right? Me and Saperstein, obviously he's like my age, but I think how you and James are close. I would say that me and him were like that for a long time. Finkel and I are close, no question. But to me, it's like you and Fitzy. Yes, we're similar, but we had like a different paths in life. Me and Steve, that I think, we were like almost the same interests, same personality, so that's just my take on it. But I want to say hello to the man that I'm wearing the shirt for right now, Skulls the Soul Hunter, because he is tuned in. He's up at 1:50 p.m. California
What's up,
time.
Skulls?
Good afternoon. He says teaching the family business, I would say. So make sure you follow Skulls the Soul Hunter on Instagram. Check him out on Facebook. And I know I owe Skulls an appearance on Sportswire, so I say hello to Skulls. So make sure you check him out. Kevin Reed on Facebook for a friend request. And also, he's on YouTube, just past 200 subscribers. So Skulls the Soul Hunter on Instagram. Check him out. And also, I want to say hello to this person because James can't guard me and Brad can agree. You want to tell us who this is?
So this is, by the way, this is actually great that he told us he was coming in. So this is James Ackerman.
Okay, how you doing, James?
James Ackerman. It's actually really funny that I just got to kind of speak to him recently. A guy who plays for a peer of mine, Chris Montalbano, who I know you've heard his name.
Yes, I have. That name definitely know him, sure.
And James was another guy who, similar to him, has won it and jumped on opportunities. And I think that he, right now, by the way, Tom, is interested in playing at St. Joe's next year. So he
we certainly hope to cover him.
He reached out to me about St. Joe's and about what it's about and what, all these different things. And now it's become, again, similar to James, where we've built a relationship. I found him a chance to work summer camp, and he's working summer camp. He's doing a great job. He's a great player at Wantagh High School. Okay. He's coached by Jared Bursky, who I played with in high school.
Yes,
so
Jared's
there's a lot of connections there.
Yep.
So James is another one who, similar to him, is kind of building that relationship with me. It's in the early stages, but he's a great kid and certainly can talk to another James. And I guess we got to get your opinion on this.
Let's do it.
That is 100% false. But I've been hanging out with him a lot recently because we worked the camps for 3 weeks. Like, it's been week 1, week 2, week 3. We've been together every single week.
Okay.
I coached with him for 1 week, and he's great. It's been fun. I'm looking forward to even getting to know him better. But I will definitely say I haven't actually even ever got a chance to play with him or against him yet, which is shocking. Hopefully, maybe tomorrow or Friday, I can play with him because
So you're gonna play Friday. So you're not even worried
play
about like anything crazy. So you're actually gonna go out and do something Friday.
Oh, of course. I'm always trying to play whenever I can. But I saw him play once in the summer league. He Wantagh versus Jericho, I think it was.
Okay.
He played well. He very good on defense, which I will say. His shot wasn't falling that night, but he looked good. I'm looking forward to getting a chance to play him.
Yeah. And also, by the way, I just have to say this. He doesn't want to talk about it, but last year for Clark, they played Wantagh head-to-head, and Wantagh gave him a spanking. So James, Ackerman's got a little bit.
Well, I think Ackerman is another guy that I certainly might want to hear from, definitely on Sportswire, and certainly give me a follow on Instagram at the Sports Report.
And this is the one thing too, Ed, Tom, by the way, that makes this camp, especially the Hicksville one, James and other people, it makes it so special because it comes along and it ends up being like him and me and like all these different relationships. Like James is just another example of a kid that all of us are looking out for and we're building a good relationship and friendship with that has the same mission as a James, as a Ty Sear, as an Alex Martellecci. He wants to play in college. And that's one of my biggest things is that I want to take these people that are motivated like this and push them to their goals. And I think James is the latest example of that.
Oh, no question about that. And again, if you're out there and you watch this for the first time, I'm on Instagram at the Sports Report 2021, and give us a sub also on YouTube at Sportswire Radio. And if you are out there, maybe I want to definitely have the opportunity to speak with you out there. And he also says, the Rev, I'm waiting for my interview. James might have lost by 30+ points. So maybe, well, then, you know what? We have to get in touch. So I guess, Brad, if you know him well, maybe he's the next person to come on the show at this point. Definitely.
We'll see. Listen, James is also really mature for his age as well.
Okay, so you know what? It's good. But listen, when we speak to all the wrestlers at this point, these these guys, they know, they watch the clips with the wrestlers. They're probably way more mature than I am. So I'm sure that they could
all I
certainly
gotta
hold
say
their
right
own.
now is I know Ackerman's still listening.
30 plus.
You guys got to play each other. We got to see how this goes.
I'll play whenever.
Can we get like a recording of this, or somebody put this on video and vlog it, maybe?
Record it. Please.
Let's do a vlog. Let's say Ackerman versus DeSimone. Maybe somebody can vlog it tomorrow. We can get like, we could maybe do like a few minutes with it on Sportswire and go, well, who won, and kind of recap what happened, who won, who lost, and why, play by play. Maybe that could be something out there then. And Skulls wants to say, for you, Brad, every time I hear the brute force, it reminds me of the song called "I Believe I Can Fly." Well, you don't want to say it's from R. Kelly these days because he's in jail, so you really don't want to bring that song up.
I actually see where Skulls is coming from, hopefully, and I appreciate it because I think he's trying to say that every time he hears something, he thinks of, belief and excitement is something that's good. So I appreciate that.
I'm going to come back to Tyson, but so who is Big Mike here?
Coming on.
Big Mike. First of all, we shouldn't even say Big Mike, just Mike.
But he's Big Mike, though. I got to say he's Big Mike. That's his name.
I'm liking the profile pic, but the score was we played yesterday. I played. You shut off. There we go.
What do you got for me?
Oh, there we go.
Oh,
sorry, we lost you for a second.
Okay.
So I played Justin Fortuna, who's going to Caldwell to play Division II basketball.
Okay,
I
know
played
Caldwell.
him 3 times, and I played Mike yesterday. Mike, he definitely is better than I thought he would be. He had a couple threes. The final score was 10-9. Me. We didn't play to 11 because both of his calves cramped. But we'll resume the game one day, and I'll definitely let you know what happens, Tom.
By the way, to give you the insight on Mike, because we're getting a lot of people that are from PAL.
I'm impressed today. I'm impressed. Got a lot of different people.
Other players that are playing at a high level. Mike plays for Hicksville High School.
Yes.
And he just
from the Dempsey family, obviously, Hicksville.
Yeah, he was his assistant at Hicksville.
And of course, John Petrucelli is the GOAT of Hicksville, period. And of course, he's like, he doesn't even live in Long Island anymore. I think he's living in Italy, basically, full time.
Yeah, he's staying overseas. So, but Mike
had a baby, by the way. Yep.
Yeah. And another good kid, by the way. Another good kid, but has gotten so much better, by the way, over the years. Just seeing his game evolve, he's gotten a lot better.
All right, I got a good one for you from, actually, before I do that, from Tyseer. James, I couldn't walk. We will resume that one-on-one.
Mike, I'll definitely play you again whenever you want. It was fun to play you. He's definitely could be a college player. He's 6'3", very long. He plays really good defense. He's very good. I would never count him out. I definitely would want him on my team for sure.
All right, well, I definitely want him on the team too because I hear 6'3", but I got a good one from Tyseer. Brute force, has James made you a better coach?
It's actually a really good question because, one thing that I take, especially when it comes to either level up or coaching JV or anything like that, is I'm not the guy who's kind of selfish to myself. And what that means is that I like to hear my ideas from my assistants and what they have to say and see second opinions and stuff like that, and also have assistants who see things that I don't see. And I think that in that case with James, having assisted my level up team with my father Joel, it really did help me. I think it did because you're getting different perspectives, and I think that's something that we've kind of talked about throughout this show with talking with different people is that you different perspectives. So I'm a guy who has a defensive identity, and I'm a big guy. James, is a guard who can score and has a little bit of a different way of playing. So he might see the game differently than me, even though we can relate in the same way when it comes to our coaching style.
The brute force, I think we lost you there for a second, so hopefully
there we go. We're here.
There you go. Okay.
It's always me talking. I always get cut off when I'm talking. But anyway, we have different styles in the way that we see the game, but at the same time we relate. So he has made me a better coach. I think that just hearing from him, hearing his opinions, hearing his a few times in games he just come up to me and say certain things like, Brett, I'm seeing this. Like you should do this. That makes me better because it's all right, I see it from somebody else's angle. Let me try to make an adjustment. And I think it's also for him, having been with me, sometimes he could agree with me and he could disagree with me. And that's part of the learning process.
Absolutely. Listen, nobody agrees with one another 100%. There's always going to be times that you might have disagreement, but it's always best that you kind of have the relationship that you have. And Also, I have here the jokes that damn Mike injuries these days. Basically says that's jokes, damn Mike's injuries these days. I want to obviously, Brad. I know you might have had some other questions out there from people. While we're getting more questions, I kind of wanted to read them off and
Yeah.
see what James thinks about it. So let's go right to those if you have them.
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, some of the questions that I was asked on Instagram were from some of these individuals
Oh, okay.
who actually then came on and shared them on the show. So
do you have any
we
different ones?
appreciate that.
You have any different ones?
Oh, for sure. So one of them is actually from his mother.
Oh,
Kristen.
wow. Well, read that off. That might be the most important one you're going to get.
She basically asked James, how are you going to manage being without, somebody to cook for you or somebody to kind of do your laundry?
That's a good question because I've actually never learned how to cook in my entire life. Now, thankfully, I can afford to actually not cook, but I mean, that's because of some good luck and good decisions in life. But I really want to hear your question because you don't have the finances that I may have. So I want to hear this.
I actually think I'm pretty self-sufficient. I've been working like jobs, a bunch of I worked in concession stands. I worked at a deli for 2 years.
Oh wow, okay.
So I worked in a bunch of jobs which helped me become like self-sufficient for myself. So I think I'll definitely miss mom's cooking because there's nothing better than that.
Now, what's your favorite meal from mom? I want to know this. What is your favorite meal from mom?
This might sound a little interesting.
I want to hear it.
It's salmon with this apricot jelly on top.
Wow.
And don't knock it till you try. It is definitely definitely the number one meal that she makes, or the meatloaf. It's like 1A, 1B. Definitely a close call, but it would probably be the salmon.
I would have thought Italian, maybe chicken parm.
That's my dad's specialty. My dad makes all that stuff. My mom sticks to just chicken cutlets, salmon, like mashed potatoes, all that stuff.
Now, Brad, have you had mom's home cooking before?
So I've had a few things from her, yeah, and everything's been very good. And by the way, let's give a shout out to his parents, his mom and dad, his uncle Dave as well.
Yes, we spoke about Uncle Dave before.
His brother Tyler, great family. They've had me over a bunch of times. He has the luxury of having a hot tub in his backyard and
okay.
And a pool. So he has had me over, and again, as a trainer,
everybody on Long Island though has a pool, but I mean the hot tub's pretty. That's a fancy.
Oh, not me. Not me, Tom. Not me.
Oh, okay.
That's why he has mine though. He comes over a lot.
But with that being said, I don't think and again, what's cool about Level Up too, and I'm gonna get to Level Up in a second. Okay, is what's cool is that when we build our coach to player relationships, it actually evolves itself. Like we have a coach, Coach Chris Coleman, who goes to Mets games with one of his players because his father has tickets to the games and he brings the coach. We have other coaches that do little things, that, again, where they kind of relate to the players. They bring them to their homes. They invite them to dinners. And that's something as a coach that when you have that relationship, it's actually really much appreciated. And for me with James, like their family has brought me in and kind of just said, listen, come over whenever you want.
I really appreciate that. And I think that really builds a special bond. That's why I just see the bond between the two of you guys. And even through athletics at this level, which is why I'm really glad that, and obviously, we want to say
that doesn't happen for everybody.
It's just the brotherhood that we just have. Like if he came over my house at let's say 8 p.m. on a random Tuesday, I wouldn't even question it.
Wow. Okay. Now, if I did that at somebody else's house, I'd be shocked. I would be shocked.
Crazy.
Yeah, no. So let's ask another question. All right, this is from I mentioned him earlier, Chris Montalbano, a coach with Level Up. He wants to know, and this is an interesting question because this is a long-term thing. He wants to know how many points you think you're going to average your senior year at Mr. Cordia.
Wow, that's a great question. I always try to shoot high because then it definitely pushes me to work harder. So I'm definitely going to say 20, 18. Sophomore year in high school, I averaged 23, but that is high school. But senior year of college, I'm gonna stick to around 20 points. But for me, it's more about the team success and I think I'm a better passer than anything else.
I think that's such a hard question though because we don't know the system, we don't know the play. It's so difficult.
A lot of things can happen. So.
Just average more than Brad did in college, all right? Just
That's the goal.
I will say, I think I might challenge him to that before he leaves. I'm going to say now that his career's starting, I think if he doesn't score more than me, there's got to be a penalty. So
there will definitely be a lot of
because
running.
listen, Tom. The thing is that James' specialty is shooting threes. Now I only made 1 3 in my entire college career, so I'm doing it all with 2s and free throws. So
the highest you had in the game, what was it? 19? Was it 19?
Yeah, it was 18, I believe. 18.
It was 18. And you did it a few times. You did it a few.
I heard that was a tough team. To put on good numbers was a tough team.
He's trying to act like he doesn't know. But with that being said, about every 1 or 2 weeks or so, they always have to mention my clip getting dunked on by Ryan Tour.
I could pull it up.
And then we had the Etheridge brothers. Remember the Etheridge brothers? We also used to bring that up.
Yeah. So, all right, another question. It's actually from Tyseer, and you didn't ask it, so I'm actually going to ask it right now.
Let's do it.
All right. The question is, how do you like the college process? And school-wise, how do you like kind of the adjustment to college? So he's probably going towards more.
There's a couple things.
The classroom times, like
that's a great question. That's a great question. I'd love to know that.
School, the college process so far.
Well, first I will talk about the orientation homework I had, which is I think it's ridiculous, but I spent like 4 hours just on this orientation work about like campus safety, like drugs and alcohol and all that stuff. Which 4 hours, it was definitely I was sitting there just wondering a lot of things, but the process of being recruited, that was definitely harder than I thought it would be. It was me emailing a bunch of schools, following a bunch of schools through Twitter. Kelly Dempsey, which helped me a ton through that process.
Yes.
Thankful to her. But it was definitely not what I thought about how it would be like as a kid. But it was time consuming for sure. Editing clips, editing highlights, making one big highlight tape.
I heard say that on an interview. I'm trying to think if it was Highland, not with me, but it was some coach that I've had on that said that in a separate podcast, talked about the importance of the mixtapes, the highlight reels, and like learning that and kind of putting that out there so these different coaches, can kind of see who you are, but not just putting the moments when you have a slam dunk or a game-winning shot, but the other stuff.
Like posting a charge, posting a good steal, posting like clapping. It's just stuff like that, like little stuff that makes the biggest difference. And that's why I'm so thankful for Mr. Cordia giving me this opportunity.
Mr. Cordia. I think I'm going to try to remember that. I feel like it's going to be like Bart Simpson in The Simpsons, where it's kind of like had to write like the that's going to be
by the end, you will 100% be able to say it. You better MU, yeah, or you could do that.
I am from Brooklyn, so I don't know if I'll ever get that right. What else do we have, Brad, questions-wise?
So before I get to level up, because I mentioned that, I want to talk more about, because we talked about last show more about James and how he played with Level Up and what he did in that experience. But I want to talk more about the coaching angle, having coached with me and having a few experience with that. But first, because I got the picture next on deck, all right, and I know it is time to talk about New York's best team, all right, and that is the New York Liberty.
An actual good team to talk about in New York.
A good team, all right, because listen, the one thing I will say is this, okay? When I talk about bringing James to things, I don't want to bring him to things that stink. I want to bring him to a team that wins, that plays the right way, okay, and that does good things. So, James, before I kind of get into a few other questions, talk about your experiences with me at the New York Liberty games.
So, luckily, me and Brad have had a couple. We've been to 3 games total, but I'll just talk about this summer. So far, I've been to 2 games. It was the Liberty versus the Seattle Storm.
Yes.
And
you were at the Aces game also, right? You were at the Aces game?
Yeah, the Aces game.
Yeah, we'll get to that. That was a crazy game. I was shocked. But it was definitely the Liberty make it such a fun experience. They really make it like so entertaining. At the halftime show, they have all these people jumping off trampolines, dunking, really hyping up the crowd always. And the way they play basketball is really it's just so fun to watch.
Yep.
And then most importantly, the Liberty versus the Aces, which for people who don't know, those are the 2 best teams.
Yep.
And I think the Aces were actually the 1 seed.
Yep.
I think they still are. They only had 2 losses the whole year. And me and Brad got to sit in a suite, which is so crazy to think about. But thanks to Brad. But they beat the Aces by 40. Which
that second half. Well, that second half was just like forget about it.
Who would have thought that? I think Inescu ended with almost 40 points. It was a crazy game to watch. I love watching Inescu play. I think she's really like the future of the league.
And by the way, because this is going right straight to my next question. Okay, what's been cool is that it's a women's version, but James and Sabrina Ionescu actually play very similarly, which is kind of what's cool for him. Is that Ionescu is a shooter, he's a shooter. Ionescu is crafty with the dribble, he's crafty with the dribble. Okay, Ionescu is the one that has a lot of passion. Okay, and yells and gets very fiery. He is too. So I think it's been pretty cool to kind of see that similarity. But let's see what he says, Tom. Who's a better shooter, Ionescu or you?
Ooh,
At this time, I think I got to give it to Ionescu. Which shouldn't she break the 3-point record? She hit 38 threes or something similar to that, which is unbelievable to think about.
I mean, James, we love you on Sportswire, but I mean, you're probably going to have to defer to her. I mean, she's obviously having,
and she's the 2K cover athlete for women.
Yep, I saw that. Yeah, no, the Liberty broke the franchise record for wins in their entire history. So think about the franchise, right? The franchise exists going back to 1997. This is their 27th season, and they've never won as many games as they've won before. So they're kind of like now like a really big deal. And, they're on the cusp of, they could certainly win the championship here.
Not only, like you said, Tom, I mean, they beat the Aces at home, but they just beat them on the road, in the Commissioner's Cup, and they won it. So this is a team that's legit. They're good. They're fun to watch, as James said. And like I said, the opportunities when I have them is what ones I want to give to James and let him learn from it. And I think he's learned a little bit from watching the women's game. And also, it's another experience for us to remember as friends.
That's cool, too. That's a cool – because, I know we went to a couple games, Brad, which is great, and I think it helps us. But you and James have a different relationship because of just the proximity, the basketball, the coaching. So I think it really does – those are the things that you remember, 40 years from now, right, when everybody's, old and everybody's, done from playing. You're going to remember, hey, I went to that game against the Aces, and the Liberty wins by 40, and those are the games. And I sat in a suite, and that's a big deal to sit in a suite. I mean, I think one time I was in a suite.
If the Liberty make it to the championship, we are going. I'm taking off of school. We have to go to that game.
Well, I don't know if your coaches want to hear that. I'll make sure that they don't hear this show. Then I'll make sure, because I don't know if they would want to hear that. But before I get back to more questions, Brad, if you have Tyseer says James Hurth at 7. What is Hurth at 7?
That's the park that me and him would go to. Yeah, I am definitely down, Tyseer. We can go.
Okay, well, we'll make sure we end in a little while to make that happen. And he also wants to thank everyone for answering his questions, and he's still hanging out with us in Coles tonight, the roast session. Which I guess I don't think you're being roasted, James. I don't think it's like a roast. The roast is kind of like
it's mutual. I think it's mutual.
There's times where we definitely joke around, but
I don't think it's
we know it to be serious. Like when we training, we're always very serious. But when it's just me and Brad, we definitely mess around.
Do you have any other questions, Brad, from people on Instagram?
No, absolutely. I got a few. Well, Instagram questions, I think we've answered them all.
Okay.
For the most part, but I wanted to get more because again, I talked about I wanted to get more to the level up experience.
Sure, let's definitely talk about that.
It's because we've been talking more about James as a player, transitioning to college. James, maturing as a player. But he's actually looking to become a coach too. And I think that is something that is a cool experience because you see different things as a coach than you do as a player. So he got to coach a few of my teams, be the assistant. He also, in fact, won a championship in a tournament for me with the team he covered for me and won. So he's got a cool experience with coaching. So talk about your level up coaching experience.
So it started off with me doing a bunch of level up camps. With Jesse, I think I started off doing it with Jesse. This is when me and Jesse first built our bond. I did a bunch of camps with him, and when he told me recently, I was his youngest ever coach, his first player coach, which is pretty cool to know. But then one day I told Brad, I was like, "Hey Brad, would I be able to coach with you?" And then from there it was he thought about it. He was like, "Yeah, why wouldn't you be able to do that? You want to be a future coach, learn the game to another level." But he always stressed make sure you focus on being a player also. So for a couple, what season was it? What season was it?
Spring.
For the spring season, every Wednesday and Monday we would have practice, and I'd always be there. It was keep going. Sorry, I lost my thought for a second.
So the few teams that he was coaching with, he's trying to get to the team specifically.
We coached the 3rd, 5th, sixth, and ninth.
Ninth.
Oh, very, very versatile in kind of just the
Yeah.
range there.
Definitely. And then we would I coached went to a couple tournaments. We went to a tournament in what was that, Patchogue?
That was out in Patchogue area.
What's a
yeah.
Patchogue?
SJLI area then, Brad.
Yeah, I think that the tournament was actually run by
So guess
St.
who?
Joe's players.
He's referring to the Long Island Sound tournament.
Oh, he's referring to then McNeely and
McNeely and
Hurt.
Hurt.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then me and Brad, which we didn't know, I had no idea this was going to happen. Both Brad's teams made the championship.
Two teams in the tournament.
Two teams in the
Well, I
tournament.
think we
both made the
spoke about
championship.
this before. Okay, we spoke about this before.
So
okay.
I had the opportunity to coach one. Brad coached the other, and
yeah.
luckily my team performed very well, and we won. And that was definitely a cool experience. First time winning a championship. I'll definitely remember that.
Did you get to know Hurt and McNeely a little bit? Do you know those guys at all?
So they were doing the shock. They're not the shock. They were doing the score, and they were there. So I was talking to them a little bit. They're definitely two great guys.
Well, McNeely, I think you would probably know a little more than Matt because McNeely's a little closer to your age, I would think, maybe. And then his brother is playing high school, so maybe you would have had maybe some passing with them, I think. Maybe you would have had some. And his father's obviously also been a well-known coach.
It's actually funny because in that tournament, to kind of talk about that, Ryan McNeely had a team at that same age group that we had. And in order for us to have made the championship, we had to beat Ryan's team out. So we actually did, and then won their tournament. So that was pretty cool. At the same time, I love Ryan, so I'm not trying
And then
to...
obviously, weren't you one of the coaches also there when you guys beat Coach G's team at the buzzer also? Talk about that.
Yes, I was there for that shot.
Talk about that because we definitely mentioned that on Sportswire.
He took like a fadeaway three-pointer from the wing, and it went in. And I couldn't help myself. I ran on the court, started celebrating with him like I was a player.
Yes, we spoke about that with Coach G on the show, and obviously we made sure to mention that. And I do want to say hello to Coach G because I know Coach G also has a Malloy basketball camp that has come. There's a couple of them there, but you can go to the Malloy men's basketball team for more information and make sure you go out there and for more details on that. You can go to the Malloy College basketball Instagram for more information on that. But is there anything else, Brad, that you want to talk about?
Yeah, so now we kind of talked about the spring with Level Up and coaching and having those experiences. And I think for James, I think it was just a learning experience. Kind of going from a player to a coach is a very different thing. Having to manage minutes and having to...
Guys can't do it. Not everybody can make that adjustment. You see it all the time. Guys cannot make that adjustment.
It definitely helped me see the game a different way, which is going to help me in the long run of basketball for sure.
Yeah. So now, as he's kind of learned to coach, this summer he's actually doing a lot of camps. I want to talk about a few of the camps that you've done.
Absolutely.
As well as the fact, Tom, that in the PAL camp that we're running this summer, the first 2 weeks he's won championships in both of them. And he's trying to catch up to me. He's trying to catch up to me in championships. So talk about those camps and what you're doing there.
Yeah, so me and Brad got the opportunity to work at the Hoop Lab camp, which was great.
Oh, yes. I know the Hoop Lab camp.
It was I like coaching both ages, but I actually like the younger kids better, which I think Brad does also. I like teaching them, helping them develop into better players. And then I was lucky enough to work two sleepaway camps with Jesse Winters and Chris Montebaggio.
Okay.
Which the sleepaway camps is my first time really ever doing a sleepaway camp. I've never really done that before. So that was definitely a cool experience. Staying there the whole day in the blazing hot sun. That was cool. Getting to meet all those people. I was there for 2 weekends each. I was there at Starlight Camp, and then I was there at Blue Ridge. Two very cool camps. It got me the opportunity to meet, to get to know Jesse, and I already knew Chris on a really personal level because me and him trained too with Brad a couple times. But it really got me the opportunity to gave me the opportunity to meet Jesse on a really personal level. He gave me a lot of advice. He's just someone who I always love to be around because of the way he just carries himself.
He's so professional. Jesse is you could tell that he was a professional basketball player, and you could tell in college he was just on another level. You could tell in his career, obviously, you could just tell with Jesse, there are certain people that when you're in a room with them, they're successful. To me, that's Jesse.
Yeah, he He gave me a ton of advice, and it's I'm like a sponge around. I try to be like a sponge around because he's always like saying great things that you sometimes don't even realize he's saying, but like when like you're like, wow.
The other thing I want to add to that, by the way, Tom, because we talked about his transition to coaching. One thing that I think he's been doing a lot, and I think it's good for him, is that when he's around Jesse and he's around Chris and he's around me, we administer certain drills and certain things that we're doing to try to teach the kids what to do. And he's picking up on that. And now at this point, some of Jesse's best drills and some of the things he does, he's able to do on his own. And now those drills, by the way, translate to not only continuing to teach the game and help other kids, which he's now training and mentoring other kids, but also helping incorporate it into his game, some of these drills and some of these skills that he's learning through the coaching rank, not just player coaching. So, Jesse's great with that, just the ins and outs of it. Obviously, he runs his own program, so he knows what he's talking about.
Oh, no, and listen, again, Jesse, speaks for itself. I mean, again, he was one of the few players we speak about that he was great in high school, but had no problem being great in college, which is, again, really speaks to the...
But he's also great as a teacher, and I think as James also, by the way, is going to Misericordia to become a teacher. So he's trying
wow.
Well.
Yes. Oh, I forgot to mention that earlier. Yes, that is true.
So you're studying education would be your major, then?
Yes.
Wow, okay.
My goal is to stay in, like, the phys ed track. Yeah, I've always wanted to be a teacher. I want to coach on the side, definitely. Hopefully for
phys ed was good. I think that was what Steve Saperstein, my buddy, did when he played in high school. He went and played basketball, and then he did lacrosse, and then he went to college, and then he wound up studying to become a teacher. Originally, that was kind of his thing. So I could see that from you, phys ed. I think that would be a kind of a good platform, and just on Jesse real quick. Jesse's such a humble guy. He's one of those guys that doesn't want to talk about themselves. On Sportswire, I'm so used to people, all they want to do is talk about themselves, right? Jesse was like, this guy is just super, super humble here. So, and I have one here from Taisir. Advice for baby, is it Saihan? How do I pronounce it?
Saihan, yeah, that's Taisir's little brother, who is, I think, 8 years younger than us. But
okay.
Got the chance to see him really grow up. Saihan, I think he's more into soccer, but
okay.
I will definitely...
we do a lot of soccer here on Sportswire with Coach Facina and Coach Litwood at Five Towns College. Sure.
Yeah, Saihan is someone who really looks up to me and Taisir, seeing with all that we have done with our life so far. But I will just tell Saihan to be a kid because I think he's going into 5th grade.
Okay, so he's going to be about 10 then.
But he's gonna do great things.
I want to say hello to him right now, Bubba, because he watches. So I want to say hello to Sion.
What's up, Sion?
Definitely want to say hello to him and make sure that he's tuned in. And I'll come back to you, Brad, in a second. But I was curious in the amount of time that I have left, because obviously I know that Taisir wants to see you on the court, so I want to try to ask you some important things. November 9th. I know it's not kind of near, but it's near in a sense. That first game. Have you thought about that? Does that make you nervous? Will that be the moment? I know I've asked you before, but now that the schedule is out, November 9th, how much have you thought about that?
Yeah, November 9th, Mount St. Mary's. I'm really looking forward to it, but right now I'm really just trying to focus on getting ready for that.
Okay.
Obviously I still have to earn a spot on the team.
Sure.
I'm just excited to get going. Like, I've been waiting for this all summer. Me and Brad have been training really hard. But November 9th, I heard that you're coming to a game later down the road.
Well, not November 9th, but December the 29th, because I don't think I could follow all the way to Pennsylvania in your home building. But I hear
New York
that
game, I heard.
CCNY.
CCNY, yeah.
York and CCNY are two different dynamics. But yes, you're going to be playing in the CUNY, which I find that so interesting because obviously I've covered the CUNY, and you're going to CCNY, which is kind of a really historic gym. An historic place to play,
really?
And that's your first game really home, and it's I think your only game in the downstate area. So that's going to be the game you might have a lot of friends and family that'll watch you in because you're going to be in Manhattan, the bright lights, right around holiday season, in between all these different holidays, right before New Year's, and you are coming back here. In fact, Coach G, he was an assistant over there at CCNY, so there's a lot of similarities. Sean Flores was from Long Island. He was the head coach there, so I mean, there's a lot here. So December 29th, I think, James, that's the game that I got circled. And I think a lot of people back home who are watching and are going to be supporters of yours are probably going to be focused in most. That's the game you might have the most pressure the whole year on.
Most definitely. I'm honestly super excited to meet you because I know this is
Yes.
the second time we never even met each other, which is
I
crazy.
know. Yeah, we were supposed to be, I think, this summer, but we missed each other at Liberty games, and
Mm.
I have done like so many segments on Sportswire with wrestling. I've just been like,
Yeah.
I've had like it's like blown up with the YouTube. We gained like almost 200 subscribers alone in the last like 60 days, and it's just like I have requests even from like pro wrestlers right now. We just did a
Wow.
spot, yeah, but like I mean, the guy we just had on Monday, a guy Vito Fratelli, like to give him a plug. He's like almost like kind of think of like Jesse, like a pro, like it was a really good pro. He's like a big deal, and we're supposed to be doing something I can't say on the air with, but that's why we haven't met up. But December 29th, absolutely, I'm really excited about that. A 5 o'clock game on a Friday, and Brad, I think we'll see each other, Brad, at a Liberty game before then. But to see you actually live and watch you in
Yeah.
a place I
Crazy.
know very well, I've covered. CCNY. I know that program. Yassine Saki. This is a guy you're going to get to see him. So that's going to be a really cool thing. So, are you also like when you have that? I'm assuming you're driving up there. Like, is
Yes,
that
I'm getting
moment
dropped off.
okay? So, like, is you going to shed a tear? Are you going to like cry? Like, what's that going to be like in that point?
He says he
I'm
doesn't
curious.
cry, Tom.
Tom, I don't remember the last time I cried, but I'm definitely gonna be very like emotional and in like my feelings type of way because obviously I'm so far away from home. I can't just go see my mom. I can't just go see my dad. And my whole family lives on the same block, which is pretty rare. My grandparents are my neighbors. My cousins are right down the
Wow.
down
Okay.
2-minute walk. Yeah, so it's definitely gonna be pretty interesting leaving them. But I'm gonna be a little sad.
So what is your last day like Friday? Walk me through like what is your day like being planned for? I think that's a really fascinating
Yeah,
question.
that's a
for
great
people.
question. So I'm gonna be working camp 9 to 3 like usual. I'll win a championship again. No, I'm kidding. I hope I win a championship again. But then
If you want a career in wrestling, you got the flair for it, right? I could see. You had that like
I hope
cockiness. I
maybe
kind of
one
like
day.
it.
I've actually never done wrestling before, but hopefully one day.
Well, my advice is stick to basketball. For your
I was gonna
parents,
say,
your parents probably would appreciate that advice. So I'm going to give you the
yeah.
advice. I don't have much advice,
Stick
but
to bas- but
stick to basketball.
we'll probably end up going out for dinner. Enjoying that like last meal with them before we take the long road trip up. We'll probably leave early. Like they were talking 9:30 Saturday morning. I'm definitely gonna see a couple of my friends before I leave because me and Tyson leave the same. We're leaving at the same time. So
Oh wow, okay.
I'll say bye to Jason Getz. Alex is leaving tomorrow, so I won't see him. I'll
What
say bye to
about
him
and
tomorrow.
Jason? What's his deal?
Jason's going to the Marine Corps.
Oh wow,
He's going to
okay.
the Marines, which is very very cool.
Wow, okay.
He leaves in October, I think. It's pretty
Wow,
cool.
he's going to the Marines. Well, I thank him
You've
for his
seen Jason
service.
his hair, right? He has to shave all that off.
Yeah, I had friends of mine that did that thing, and it's like, yeah, you gotta like get the buzz cut. It's like you're a whole new person. Yeah, I mean, I give him a lot of credit. I definitely, really respect Jason, tenfold, for that. So, what's the favorite restaurant of choice that you're gonna go to on Friday? What's the one you like to go
Great
to?
choice.
Please, not All American Burger. Please don't tell me All American Burger.
I love burgers. Burgers are probably like one of my favorite foods, but we'll probably go to like Grimaldi's Pizza in Garden City.
Okay.
Or yeah, probably Grimaldi's. I love that place. I love pizza. I know Brad loves pizza too. We get pizza a lot. So
I do too.
Grimaldi's
I
Pizza.
do too. I mean, I'm in the capital for pizza, so I mean, I know that.
I need a good New York City slice.
Well, if you in Manhattan, so if you're, I don't know,
Slice.
I know if you're in Manhattan, I don't know if you're gonna come in early that day. I don't know if you're staying there, but if you're in Manhattan, I would try to go to Joe's Pizza.
Is that the best spot?
In Manhattan? Yeah, that's in it's actually there's one in Times Square, which is on 40th and Broadway. So if the team is actually gonna go look to eat before or after, that would be my place if you're in Manhattan. So I would say that. Have you done anything for fun? Have you gone to a movie this summer? Because Swing the Salt, Ryan, and
I know. I have a question for you first. How was Meg 2? I actually saw the first one. I
You did?
The second one.
I think
Was it good?
Meg 2, yeah, you know what? It starts slow. The first like 45 minutes is kind of slow, but that last 50 minutes of the movie, it's like it's everything you would have expected in Jason Statham, and I don't want to spoil it. So yeah, I think it was kind of a fun movie. I think it's like the time length is good. It's not boring. The first half's a little slow, but that second half of the movie, It's just like it's coming on. It's coming on like Brad when he gets in the court and gets in that mood and plays his defense and blocks shots. 27th all time.
And play James
rebounds.
101.
Ooh, boy,
Yeah, but,
that's a tough one. Yeah.
But I saw talking about movies. I saw the Spider-Man movie.
I saw that. Yeah, Spider-Man was very good across the verse.
Spider-Man.
Across the verse.
Across the verse. Yes, I saw that one.
And Haley Steinfeld, by the way, dating Josh Allen now.
Really?
Yeah.
I know that. Yeah. Spider-Man's probably my number one favorite, like superhero, if we call him.
Yes.
He's definitely
Spider-Man was really good. Yeah, I saw that in IMAX. That was really good. I saw that the second day it came out. I saw that movie. That was very good movie. Very good.
Great movie. But other than that, it's been enjoying time with my family, my friends, going to the beach a little bit. I've been working a lot. Like I said,
Brad works. Brad is not a guy like Gordon and Ryan on their show. Brad, we're talking about like all the movies they saw. Brad is like basketball.
Yeah, Brad's not into movies or TV shows.
No, Brad. So like,
he doesn't have time.
People ask me that question, but what I try to do is I try to find the time. Like I find the 2 hours at a time. People ask me because like Brad, at this point, I think your schedule, my schedule, and Dempsey's schedules are probably the same.
Listen,
I just find the time.
He was just talking about the beach. I haven't been to the beach all summer. It's just the way I go. Listen,
no, I get it. But I see the movies. I at least try to make that once a week effort to at least see a movie. Like everything else, like I'm with you guys. Like my schedule is like super duper busy, but I try to at least find that leash. I thought that would be fun. Obviously we're coming close to closing thoughts stuff, and I know obviously you're a very busy guy. You have your family, everybody else here. But, Brad, do you want to ask James anything here before we move to closing? Is there anything that you have up your sleeve, Brad?
Well, I always have interesting things up my sleeve. You know that, Tom. And obviously we've mentioned a lot of them. And give credit to Tyseer, who asked a lot of the questions.
Tyseer was phenomenal. I mean, I think Tyseer would be a guy I'd love to speak with. I'd love to hear his story, really.
But, I'll just kind of quickly go to it because I want to finish this with more talking about what's about to happen in the transition process from going to here on Long Island and also high school to college. So I'll ask you this, okay, with this question. Mentality-wise, okay, and work ethic, okay, you know what it takes, obviously, to be a good player. But what will it take to also become a great player in college?
Ooh, boy.
I think it takes exactly what I've been doing now, just more consistent. Because I've always been a very hard worker, but I think it might even take like more than one workout a day, maybe 2 workouts a day. Eating clean all the time, no cheat meals. Working out in the weight room once a day. It's definitely, I think just adding on more stuff I'm doing now while recovering better. By especially eating right,
Well, that's one advice I will give you. I will give you advice actually on the eating part and kind of the workout routine, because we have a lot of wrestlers come on, and some of the guys we have on are in like phenomenal shape. I mean, they're in, and the advice that they usually talk about is if you're gonna do anything related to your workouts, you should only have a cheat meal no more than once a week. There's only one day a week that you can have a cheat meal. So if you're gonna work out, do your workouts 5 days a week. So always have a rest day kind of in the middle. Do your workouts. If you want to do Monday, Tuesday, do your Thursday, Friday. Maybe you do one day in the weekend, either Saturday or Sunday, but only pick one day of the week for a cheat, because they say that you should reward your body based on that, but no more than that. So if you're going, I don't think you're going for like the muscle thing, but you at least want to bulk up enough to kind of for the defensive standpoint.
I do,
so
100%.
Well, you don't want to go to 250 is my point.
Yeah, I agree.
That's my point. The guys we have on.
Speaking of that, I gotta kind of backtrack a little bit because we talked about so many of James's peers and friends, and
right?
Have worked with him. So there's one other guy who's been his workout partner, okay, who's also playing in college, but playing college football, by the way, I'm correct.
Yes,
okay, and his name is Claudio Pinto. All right, and I don't know that. He's a big friend of his. He's helped him completely transform his body and become stronger and bigger. And those muscles that James loves.
Claudio,
so talk about Claudio.
Claudio is by far the hardest worker I ever met. He used to be a little chubby kid back in like 7th, 8th grade. Then he's very smart. So he went to Chaminade, and he became He worked his butt off and became a 2-time state champ wrestler. And he was getting Division I looks, all the really high D1 schools. Yeah. And then around I would say junior year, we became training partners in the gym because I used to work out there by myself, and I saw him there. He gave me a lot of advice to how, because I've always asked him questions. So I was like, Claudio, how can I get bigger? How can I get faster? I always ask him questions like that. He gave it to me straight up. He's like, you have to eat more, and like you think you're eating a lot now, eat even more. So then, yeah, he's crazy.
Yeah, they eat like, if you're really training at that level, again, going back to the wrestlers, they will eat like sometimes like 6 times a day. It's like, no joke.
It's ridiculous. But then I've worked out with him consistently for a year, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And then for the second year, which is this past year, I was trying to focus a lot more on basketball. So I would work out with him maybe 3 to 4 times a week instead of 6, 7 days, because he does not believe in rest days.
No, well, you're supposed to have one. You're supposed to have at least one.
I agree, but he every time I was like, Claudio, I'm not sure, I'm a little tired. He calls me up. He's like, no, you're not. We're going to the gym. And I blame a lot of my working out success to him and getting stronger. He's taught me so much, and he's going to do great at University of Rochester for football.
Wow, okay.
He's a defensive end.
I think that's the MAC conference, if I'm not mistaken, right? Rochester's the MAC, I think. I think it's the MAC. It's one of those conferences.
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
But yeah, you're Tom, an all-state wrestler and a current football.
Well, he
player.
did the real wrestling. He did like the amateur, where it's like legitimate, like, grappling holds, which I give him a lot of credit for, because that's a lot of intensity. That's a lot of tenacity, and that's like, you want to talk about mental preparation. When you do amateur wrestling, that's like tremendous. I mean, focus. You got to give him a lot of credit and a lot of respect.
He's an animal.
Yeah.
All right, so I got 2 more, Tom. I got 2 more.
Okay.
This one I got to ask because it's near and dear to his heart and mine. So I want to talk about the Hicksville Athletic Center.
Oh.
Okay. And the Hicksville Athletic Center is the place where, of course, Ed and Kelly Dempsey.
That's a popular topic over the past 3.5 years. Sure.
It's my second home, and it's truly become James's second home as well.
Sure.
Because it's not only about the facility and how many times we've worked out there, but the people. And some of the people Tom Bryce, James Cronin is one of them.
Yes, we know James very well.
Who I know he loves and
our Sportzwire podcast host as well. Yep.
So James Cronin. We got Tommy. We got a few other guys who work in the building who have not only been supporters of James, but now really big supporters of James and want to even take road trips to watch him. So think about the place, the Hicksville Athletic Center itself, how much that place has meant to you, and then some of the people who work there who truly want to see your best come to fruition.
Like Brad said, it's basically at this point my second home. Tommy is someone who I really look up to. He's always constantly telling me stories. He might even be my biggest fan, maybe right after Brad. It's crazy. Cronin is someone who whenever I need, I can call him up. He was kind enough sometimes to even I call him up at like 11 o'clock, and we went to the Hack and shot around. Like you really like the bond we all have is special there. It's really like a big family.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Sarney, him and James on the same level.
We've been to a bunch of Mets games together too.
We've been to.
Yeah, I think Joe Sarney's name has come up. I think that name's come up here before. I feel like. Yeah,
they became first time meeting them. From now to then, it's crazy. They became family. It's definitely people who you want to surround yourself with.
Sure. I can definitely see that. Absolutely.
All right, so this is my last question, Tom. All right, and I know I'm going to get an interesting answer to this one. All right, besides your parents and your family, what are you going to miss most about Long Island?
Ooh, that's an excellent question.
Juicy question. I think that's a great question. Yeah, the easy answer is like friends, family, all that, but I don't even know. That's so.
I would have to think food, right? Because Long Island in Pennsylvania is going to be a totally
food. Maybe the beach. I like the beach, but I don't love it. Like that's so.
I mean, Pennsylvania, where you're going, right, is Dallas, Pennsylvania. So it's got to be very rural, right? Very
rural. Yeah.
So that's going to be a big culture shock because you're like in kind of the heart of suburban America in some ways.
That's honestly, wait, can I say you for my answer? I would say Brad because he said like friends and family. Even though I consider Brad family, like I will say Brad. I'll say Brad.
So the question, and I'm glad you said it, Tom, is more geared towards that. So Like Long Island, there's a lot of convenience. There's things right next to each other. There's supermarkets and 7-Elevens over. When you go to college in Dallas, Pennsylvania, you might have to drive miles just to find the closest gas station and things like that. It is a difference. There is a change in what's going to happen. Getting to go get food outside of campus is not going to be down
You
the
can't
street.
do that. I don't think you could. I mean, you'd have to pretty much stay on
obviously
campus.
he's going to be living on a lot of the food on campus, but to do things off campus, it ain't going to be down the street. It's going to be very different. Long Island is a very tight-knit, small community, that everything's kind of together. So
very similar to what...
And I was actually, one I was going to say for James, I'm surprised he didn't mention it. What about your bed? I mean, your bed, like your room, like, you go to college and you got to sleep in this dorm bed.
It's interesting you said the bed part because, Brad, when we speak sometimes with the different players or coaches, or even we'll have some of the wrestlers now who are traveling in these different states, that the whole thing about the travel and the adjustment, those road trips where it's like, some people don't take akin to that. That's actually a good point because, the bed might actually be something where you're not in your own kind of home. You're not kind of like...
Listen, for me, that's one thing that I can't relate to James on because I've always slept basically in my own bed. I didn't really travel for college. I commuted. So that's something for him that's going to be totally different. He's been sleeping in the same room for a long time. So,
that reminds me, we had the John Jay guys like Doug Levy who dormed. He lived in Manhattan. He was no like, I'm going to Long Island. Some people, even we had the Five Towns players. They went from, we had the Kemp sisters and they were from Arizona and they lived in, they were like not in their own bed. I think the bed point, I think that's a great point because you wouldn't think about it. But, when you go hit a campus there Saturday afternoon, whatever it is, you're not going to be sleeping in your own bed for the first time, I guess, other than vacations in your life, right? I mean,
100%. It's going to be a huge adjustment. Luckily, the food court does have Chick-fil-A, which I do love. So
I had Chick-fil-A. It's funny because Gordon and Ryan are doing these like food trivias, and I listened to their last show where they talked about movies and TV shows, and I had Chick-fil-A. I mean, I might have had Chick-fil-A once in the Staten Island Mall before, but I had Chick-fil-A before I saw Gran Turismo. I saw Gran Turismo, by the way, early showing, and Chick-fil-A was okay. I wouldn't say it was like it was good. I think the fries were better than the chicken. I don't know. I thought it was good. I didn't think it was like I don't know. I didn't see like the appeal of Chick-fil-A. Maybe I'm missing something. I didn't see like
it's good. I like Chick-fil-A. I'm more of like a burrito guy, like Chipotle.
Okay. Yeah, that was. I think. Well,
I said that before.
Yeah, and I think Ryan and Gordon were comparing Chipotle. Yeah, I mean. Chick-fil-A was good. I mean, I think it was better than McDonald's. I would definitely say the quality, but I don't know. I thought it was okay.
What's your favorite fast food place? You gotta say.
Not counting pizza, I would say if I had a favorite fast food place, it's a tough one. I'd probably say maybe either Checkers or Five Guys.
Checkers, I like their fries. Very
Checkers,
good.
I haven't had Checkers much, but I will say
Checkers.
Checkers, where I remember when they first put Checkers here in Staten Island, this had to be about 15 years ago. Me and a couple of guys went there, and I thought Checkers was like really, really good. Dairy Queen, if you guys have Dairy Queen, I think Dairy Queen's a good one. I've had Five Guys. I went on a date years ago to Five Guys. Five Guys was okay. I would say, maybe Checkers, Dairy Queen, Wendy's. I think Wendy's is pretty good. Wendy's is not too bad. I'm not a big KFC, Popeyes guy. It gives me kind of like the runs. I'm not into that. Burger King's okay. McDonald's. I mean, not, it's like if I'm in a pinch, I think those would be my places. Not counting, there's one place I would say under the radar I would have to throw out there, which actually might be my favorite, but I don't know if you count them as fast food. Tim Hortons. Do you guys have a Tim Hortons where you guys are?
Hortons, I was not expecting that answer. That's more of like a coffee place, right?
Breakfast. It has lunch. Yeah, paninis, like steak and cheese. That's kind of my go-to for breakfast. I don't know if you'd say like they're classic fast food, but I would say Tim Hortons for me is coming on to be like my number one, or I don't know if I would say they're like fast food compared to like the traditional lunch dinner places, but I would say, Checkers, Dairy Queen, Wendy's, 1, 2, or 3, and then maybe as an asterisk, Tim Hortons.
I will say a place that me and James have made this kind of a sacred place that I don't think he's going to have anymore. He's going to miss it. Tropical Smoothie.
I've heard of Tropical Smoothie.
That's a great one.
That's going to be one.
That's like our spot if I had to say so.
Well, at least you didn't say All American Burger. At least you did not say.
I do like All American though.
Yeah, I think it's you'd go there once and it'd be great. I think that'd be like to say you went there, but I wouldn't go there regularly. And one more place I would have to throw out there is a favorite of mine that's in the top 5, which I'm surprised nobody's talked about. Maybe because it's only like in New York City. Nathan's.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I never had Nathan's.
Oh, Nathan's is good. I mean, I've
But
had
see-
Mets games and stuff. And other
growing
places.
up, but see, growing up in Brooklyn, Nathan's was like for me, literally, there was a Nathan's literally like 5. There was the one in Coney Island, but there was one actually that my family used to work in. So it was 5 minutes from my house at the time growing up. So I could walk there. And if we were ever so good growing up, my parents would take us to Nathan's, and so Nathan's was great. I would have to say Nathan's would be in my top 5, but I go to Nathan's now like once every 5 years because it's only in Coney Island. I don't go to Coney Island unless I have a reason, because it's like $20 for a hot dog. It's like $20 for a hot dog and fries. You're not going to go there. That would be my choice. So that was good stuff there. So I think we covered everything that you wanted, Brad, and I realize in the interest of James, your time, it's only so precious. I want to ask you basically this question. You have a lot of people out there listening and watching that'll probably catch this on the rerun, and I know we've kind of covered a lot anyway. I think basically Tyseer did a lot of the work for us, so kind of thank you, Tyseer, for that, and also thank you to James Ackerman, obviously Alex Martellecci and Jason Getz. So, James, I know I might have asked this to you before, but what will you want to say to all of your friends and family that have supported you in a way, kind of like your maybe final words before you leave here in about 60 some odd hours?
Yeah, it's crazy to think about. But yeah, I want to thank all of them. They definitely helped me grow up. They're my childhood friends. I'll always just remember them. I'll come back to see them, give them all a hug. Like, those are people who I grew up with. So like they've all I've ever known since I was 8, 9, 10 years old. And to think about how long we've been friends for, my whole life, like 8 years, 9 years. I'm gonna miss them all, and I'm gonna make them all proud. That's
Oh, you definitely will do that. There's no question about that. Then, and has it set in that you're now a Misericordia Cougar?
It still hasn't. I feel like it won't set in until I've been there maybe for a couple of days. Like, I have no idea what it's gonna be like. So I'm living here. So, damn, it's gonna be crazy. I'm super excited.
Well, you definitely have a lot of reasons to be excited, and that's why I want people to follow you on Instagram at @JamesDeSimone_. The Brute Force Brad Weiss. He is on Snapchat, which is still a thing, I guess. Bradley Weiss. Facebook, Bradley Weiss. He is on Twitter at also BradWeiss20. Also, you can catch him on Instagram, BWeiss20. Also, you can catch him as Coach Brad Weiss. And I have to actually put this comment up before we get to closing thoughts. And
Wow. Oh, my dad is right. Wawa, like the gas station.
Yep. Yeah, I guess
That's our go-to road trip food.
Okay.
It's not in New York.
Look at James in that picture, by the way, Tom. Look at him.
Yeah, I think
You're on the one on the right.
Yeah,
all the way on the
I'm
right.
like 7 years old in that pic.
So Wawa? What do they serve in Wawa? I don't really know Wawa.
You never been to Wawa?
I'm from Brooklyn, bro. You think we have Wawa?
So it's in everywhere but New York. I don't know why.
I couldn't tell you anything about it.
It's like a really futuristic place where you don't even order to the person. You literally just type it into a little iPad, and in 2 minutes it comes out. They have everything.
Well, you know what I hear is big, and maybe you've done it because you've gone on road trips. Because I have a lot of wrestlers on, and wrestlers kind of have like weird schedules when they're traveling. Cracker Barrel and Waffle House are like a big deal. Have you been to either one of those? Because those are supposed to be a big deal for certain places.
I've been to Cracker Barrel. I never had a Waffle House though.
Waffle House is in Maryland, Pennsylvania, I believe, and some of the guys I have on here. And your dad wants to say Tim Hortons on steroids. Okay, you know what? I'm a big Tim Hortons guy because Tim Hortons now is here in Staten Island. We have a few of them, and I've kind of really got into Tim Hortons. There used to be one in Manhattan, and I think there's one. There's one now in Kings Plaza in Brooklyn, which is on Flatbush Avenue. Sort of near some of my stomping grounds. But yeah, Wawa. Then I gotta check. And also here, by the way, Sonic is pretty good. Have you been to Sonic?
Yes, Sonic's right near my house. It's all right. I don't get it that often, but it's cool to pull in and order that way. It's a little different.
Okay, so I think obviously we've pretty much covered everything. And do you want to say anything else to anybody in Clark? To the Coach Hasbrook, your teammates going to be there? Is there anything you want to say to them?
I want to thank them all. It's been a fun couple years growing there. Mm-hmm. I'm definitely gonna miss it there. I'll definitely be back for like open runs and stuff. I wanna help out coaching there as much as I can because I think I wanna help grow the program. because right now it's super young, a bunch of sophomores.
I know.
It'll be interesting. I definitely want to help them though, but most of all, I want to say thank you to Brad. I definitely want to get to that.
We're gonna do that. Yes, we're gonna definitely
Yeah,
get to closing thoughts. Sure.
You get to way too
Is this closing thoughts or not?
No,
No,
sorry.
we're gonna get to it. We have definitely have time. Go ahead. Shoot. Floor is yours.
Oh.
Thank Brad. Go ahead.
You want me to
You're
go
on
first?
Oh, you go.
No, I said you, James. You want to thank Brad? Go ahead. Thank him right
Oh,
now.
okay. Thank you, Brad. He knows how much I text him. Sometimes randomly, I'll say thank you. Like,
Wow.
the
Okay.
all the opportunities he's provided for me, all the training for no fee, all the just the bond we built is honestly so special. Everything about it, it's just like honestly, Brad, I'm probably gonna miss you the most of anyone.
Wow. I would have thought Tyseer, your parents, maybe Kelly.
I hate to say it. Obviously, my parents but Brad obviously is right there with them when it comes to all the advice he's given me, all the opportunities, everything. He knows I'm going to call him. I spoke to him about this. If I ever need someone, he's the first person I'm going to call.
Well, if it makes you feel better, I'd probably be the last person you want to speak to. At least he's the first person. It was the first person.
Nah, you wouldn't be the last. But
yeah.
I'm definitely I'm going to miss you, Brad.
Oh, well, that's,
I know
well, don't cry, honestly, because I've actually had
No.
spots where certain people will come on the show and they'll like get teary eyed, and I'll have to I've had to do that certain times, and I'll have to say, well, listen, let's end on a positive. But that's really nice of you. I did not expect that, James. You've become so thoughtful and mature the last 3 months. You've become like a different person. You've kind of
honestly, I don't even know what to say to Brad. He's been a huge figure in my life, and
I could see that. I could see that. I could see with Brad. Like I said, I really think there's a special relationship, and I hope that continues. Again, Brad, and we'll get to close thoughts in a second, but I know you and Fitzy had that relationship, but I just think you and James have something very different, very special. And I think there is a lot of similarities between you two that you wouldn't think on paper would be so, but I think it is. I think with you and Fitzy, yes, you guys grew up together, but I don't see the same similarities. James and you, I see it. I just see the tenacity.
I mean, you'll be a little surprised that there are some that are really not similarities. Like, and that's what kind of makes it fun too, is that we do have our disagreements.
And I think that's why you guys mesh so well. I think that's really why you guys connect. And I think sometimes those differences, opposites attract, as Paul Abdul famously sang. I mean, ultimately, I think in a way, you guys are a lot more similar than maybe meets the eye. And I think that's why, Brad, you have this special relationship that you built with James. I think that's going to carry James. And I think, Brad, James should be thanking you, because I think without you, I think James would have certainly had no question talent, a lot of things, but now he's going to go and really carry himself in a way. Maybe he does coaching when his career is done. Look at his now going to education and teaching and phys ed and, his life experience and how he carries himself. Brad, you carry yourself a certain way. And I think that's why you've gone up and done different things. And, and I think that that's very special. And I think that, James is going to be in a place that I really think is going to go a long way for him in his journey. And I just hope that he remembers, guys like me when he goes and does great things. I'm only kidding. We try to joke on Sportzwire. I try to, lighten the mood up. But, obviously there's an old adage, a rising tide lifts all boats. And there's no question that Brad Weiss and James DeSimone are definitely the rising tide that lift a lot of people's boats. And that's why I'm very excited, not only for the future of James at Misericordia College for the Cougars, but also Brad Weiss and everything Brad is doing, whether it's at Plainview, whether it's Level Up, whether it's the Nets, whether it's SJLI. I'm getting ready for college coming up October 15th, everything else. So all that stuff ahead. And that's why I'm excited about the future, and we can't wait to document it. So, Brad, I want to give you closing thoughts here first. You certainly are not the best for last, but we're saving the biggest for last here tonight. And obviously, I want to give you the opportunity to plug some things, anything else on your mind. And obviously, I really enjoyed this one. I actually enjoyed it a lot more than I expected, because it was a lot of fun. We had a lot of questions, a lot of cool things here. And I think that's kind of what made today's show really fun. And I think this is the one that James is going to remember far so more than the first one. So I turn it over to you, Brad. The floor is yours, and fire away.
Yeah, no, thank you, Tom, for having us on. Thank you, James, for coming on. He also came in studio with me, so that was pretty cool. I've never had somebody kind of sit with me and do the show, so pretty cool angle from that. But Quickly to go is most social media. You can follow me at bweiss20 and Coach Brad Weiss on Instagram, at Brad Weiss20 on Twitter /X now.
I know it's X. It's weird. I'm trying to
X,
remember X.
Yeah. Okay. And also
I think
on
of Fast
Facebook.
X, not X itself, because of the last Fast and the Furious movie.
Yeah. And Facebook searching Bradley Weiss. Listen, I'm not going to cry either. Okay, I'm not going to.
I was kind of hoping that you would cry. It would kind of be good.
I mean, I'm going to try not to, but we actually had a conversation not too long ago about who would actually miss who more. And I said to him that I think you would miss me more, but I think that's completely false. I think I'm going to miss him more, and I think there's reasons for it. One, all the assistance that he's brought to me, whether it's been in the practices, for games when I can't be there, in other areas of life. Even when I was having a tough time with camp, he had my back. Those are the things that, again, when you have a good friendship and you have a bond, you trust and you kind of go with those guys. And, we've been lucky too. I mean, some people even say we spend too much time together. And I think that's kind of true. But at the same time, we do it because we enjoy each other, being together, doing things together for a common goal. And that common goal for me has been to see the best for James. And I think for me as a coach, that's my goal for every kid I get to coach. I want to see the best for them. I want them to maximize their potential. But the thing that I ask for in return is that same kind of drive and motor to do it. And that's something that James did from day one. And that's the reason why I loved and enjoyed working with him so much. And that's why I enjoy working with him over and over. I did whatever it took, to get him in the gym, to find certain time to give him time to help him improve and get better, because I know he wanted to do it. And I just enjoyed it, and he mentioned it. I didn't even charge him most of the time because it wasn't worth it for me. I mean, a lot of people with training have to pay, to have a, to work with me. James, it wasn't about money. It certainly wasn't. It was about how much, he cared about it, how much he wanted it. And also, again, just the pleasure of coaching a kid this talented and how much he wanted to be better. And take my advice, because a lot of kids, when I'm a young coach and I haven't done it, will see me and like, what are you going to do? How are you going to help me? And, I've even heard people say, well, Brad, you were a big man and James is a guard. So how the hell are you going to work with him? How could you relate? Okay. And again, James could ask those questions too. And there's been those days where he probably is like, what the hell is this guy working with me on? What is he doing? Like, why are we doing? Okay. But he trusted me throughout the process. Okay. And that's what means the most. So I want to thank him. I'm going to miss him desperately because, again, I enjoy that bond that we've built and the friendships and the time we've spent together. So before I hand it over to him, I actually have a gift for James to go away with, okay? We talk about confidence on this show, Tom Bryce, okay? Confidence is very important when it comes to being a college basketball player. And there's going to be those ups and downs. There's going to be good days. There's going to be bad days. And I think for James, I want to give him something that helps his confidence and kind of helps him remember us and how we kind of built it. So I actually saw you get something similar to this the other day, but I got a pair of shoes for James. So,
wow.
I got a pair of Jordans. For
wow.
James to not only wear, but again, wear with confidence. And that's going to be the part that he remembers. So I want him to remember us when he wears these shoes with his confidence.
I think that's the nicest thing. In 5 years I'm doing this on Sportswire, and that's the nicest thing, legitimately, I've seen on Sportswire, that you bought him not just a pair of shoes, but you bought him a pair of Jordans. I mean,
No, because listen, he's put in a lot of work and he spends a lot of hours with me. And we've had they've done a lot of good things. His family's done good things for me. We've done it back. So again, I just want him to go with something. And again, confidence. Wear these shoes with confidence. Walk the paths of Mr. Cordia with confidence. Okay, remember what I've said to him over and over, and I think these shoes will symbolize that. And he'll remember me every time he wears them.
Well, you better wear those shoes, James. You better wear them with confidence. And you better make sure you wear them out. And certainly, I don't know how to top that, the brute force Brad Weiss. I've been doing this 5 years on Sportswire, and I think that's like, the nicest thing I've seen anybody do for someone. But I think that speaks volumes, James, to the kind of person that you are, the kind of character that you have, and kind of how close you've become with Brad. And I think that's a very special thing. You can't teach that. You can't change that. You can't really do anything but kind of embrace it. And I think that you're going to do that. And that's kind of why I want to give you the opportunity, James, for any closing thoughts, anything else you want to plug, share, or say. And these are kind of your last words before you leave here in about 60 or so hours. So I turn it over to you, and, floor is yours.
Well, obviously, I want to thank you, Tom, for letting me on the show. Brad, the things you've changed in my life is really crazy. You're the first person to really first trainer I've ever really had, fully invested in me, and I will 100% make you proud. We will be speaking almost every day, if not every day. But Brad already knows the deal, how it is between me and him. We talk all the time about this stuff. But obviously, thank you so much for the shoes. That's so nice of you, and words can't even describe how thankful I am for you. Seriously.
Well, what you just got there, I mean,
I can't even put it into words. It's just crazy.
Well, that's like a birthday gift and a Christmas gift, a Hanukkah gift, a Ramadan
It really
gift,
shows you
3
Brad's
Kings Day
character.
combined.
It really shows you what Brad's really about as a person, as a trainer, as a coach. Yeah, it's great. It's really unbelievable.
Well, you shouldn't cry, listen.
I wish I could. I wish I could.
Listen. So I'm gonna take the reins here because I'm used to doing this. Because I've had wrestlers fight each other. I've had to basically break up things. So I'm gonna basically go back to what I always say, in that it's a rising tide that will always lift all boats. So there's no question that you have a rising tide, James, that is lifting your boat in the brute force Brad Weiss. But here's what it's going to come down to. You're going to make everybody proud. You got your family that's watching you. Your family's so proud of what you've done. Your friends, your family, your teammates, your coaches, they've seen this young boy morph into a young man in our very own eyes in a short amount of time. And you have now gone on and done something that very few people get an opportunity to do. That is go and become a college basketball player in the NCAA, but also do it in another place, another state, and go away from home and go on and continue your career, your journey. So there's no question that the sky is the limit. There's no question that you're on your way to bigger and better things, and your opportunities are endless. And that's why, my friend, you are going to only see the best is yet to come. That's the old adage in life. The best is yet to come. And for you, the best is yet to come. So listen, take it all in. Enjoy these last 60 hours like you haven't enjoyed them before. And that's why I want people to follow you on Instagram at JamesDeSimone_. And I want to play your dad's last comment here. Brad, you've been such a great influence on James. We can't thank you enough, Tom. Your show is great. Thank you for giving the James the opportunity to be on the show. Well, it's great today. I'm sure other shows you see when we have these guys going in and out of each other, maybe not. But for this one, yes, I appreciate Mr. DeSimone, the opportunity that you've given me to allow your son to come onto Sportswire Radio. Obviously, you've done a great job raising your son along with your wife, and I'm sure that Mr. DeSimone's going to make a lot of people proud. He's already done that. And most importantly, he's going to wear those Jordans like he's never wore a pair of shoes before. He's going to go out there and dominate in the basketball court. He's going to kick some butt, and he's going to make sure Dallas, Pennsylvania, has seen nothing yet because we have this kid from Long Island, James DeSimone, with these brand new Jordans. He's going to show Coach Timpson, Coach Chandler, everybody else out there in Misericordia that he is here to stay. James, congratulations on your career so far. The best is yet to come. The Brute Force Brad Weiss, I'm looking forward to seeing you next week back on the show. We're going to have a lot to talk about. Maybe we'll speak with Tyseer, some other people in the weeks ahead. And I can't thank everybody else here for tuning in. And guys, keep up the great work. And James, congratulations. I can't wait to speak with you when you're out there in Misericordia and watch you December 29th, 5 p.m. at CCN1.
I'll be ready.
Well, you better be. Ladies and gentlemen, this was James DeSimone, 3-time All-County player, 2-time Newsday Top 100 from Clark High School, now a part of the Misericordia Cougars men's basketball team. And to join me to talk about James here in his final words before he goes to Pennsylvania is the Brute Force Brad Weiss, who's obviously coached alongside and mentored James DeSimone. He is the head coach from our Plainview Boys JV basketball team. He's also 27th all-time in the history of the SJLI Golden Eagles men's basketball team. Near the top of the list all-time in block shots, also with the Level Up basketball program. And my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, and if you're on Sportswire Radio, I'll be back tomorrow with 2 different segments. It'll be in the world of professional wrestling, so tune in for that. But if you're on sportnarium.com/player, you go back to your regularly scheduled programming. We're on Instagram here at the Sports Report 2021, YouTube at Sportswire Radio, Facebook at Sportswire Radio. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, on the number one global radio station that is Sportswire Radio. And James, good luck out there. Knock 'em dead, kid.
Thanks, Tom. You're the man.